It's not a white and black issue. There is something about race and the way we see race that is preventing us from seeing possibilities. And I love this quote, which says, stereotypes fall in the face of humanity. We human beings are best understood one person at a time. And that's part of our problem, is we are actually not using our potential of seeing humanity in each other so that we are able to overcome the shackles of our past, because all of us are shackled. And if we understand that we are in bondage through the stereotypes that we apply in seeing each other, this is why we're not being creative in seeing opportunities and how we can change this country to be different. I would like us to get to a place where we choose South Africa, choose the South Africa we want, to own our beliefs, not blame history, our beliefs, our prejudices in society.
That is Dudu Msomi. She's the founder and CEO of Busara Leadership Partners and also consults as a leadership coach. You're listening to The Talking Point. A very good morning to all of you that have tuned into the show. It's 9 after 9 o'clock. My name is Cathy Mohlahlana, and I'll be with you until midday as we lead conversations that move us. Certainly looking forward to the next 3 hours that we'll hopefully spend in each other's company. We'll start the show off with the open line. As we always do. It's your national round table, and you have the opportunity of setting the national agenda. I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial this morning. 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Coming up in the second hour of the show for Citizens Corner today, we're going to be looking at suicide prevention, and ironically, this conversation coincides with these devastating developments that took place overnight in Mamelodi. It's just absolutely gut-wrenching what transpired in a household there in the last 24 hours, and it ended in tragedy. This is following a 16-hour standoff where Constable Tapelo Mashego had taken his family hostage, his mother, his nephew. Police managed to get his mother out of the house through tough negotiation. Unfortunately, things have ended in tragedy for his 18-year-old nephew and the constable who not only killed his nephew but then turned the gun on himself. And I'm sure there will be a number of reasons, circumstances that, will become clearer with the next couple of days that at least will help to bring understanding to why all of this has happened. But the broader question around mental health and wellness and the suicide rates in this country is really one that also underscores part of what we see or we've seen happen in the last 24 hours. So our Citizens Corner today then was set to focus on suicide prevention, and we're going to go ahead with it as planned. In particular, a community in Umhlanga in KZN are going to be hosting a walk to highlight suicide, but also to start the conversation among themselves within communities and to help break the silence around suicide and also the stigma associated with mental health. It is such an important conversation to have, and these are conversations that affect us on such a personal level, because if you're not dealing with it, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, if you're not dealing with it personally, chances are the person that it's affecting is a loved one, is a friend, is a family member, is a colleague. And how do we need to be having this conversation in a way that really opens up the space and gives people room to come forward and talk about the support and the help that they might need. So we're going to be looking at what this particular community is doing, and also the organization that has been working to bring them all together. And this really then hopefully is going to spark a different kind of conversation around how we as society can also get involved in conversations around suicide, and most importantly, suicide prevention, because that's what we need, right? We need interventions that will save lives. Once somebody is gone, there's nothing that we can do to bring that individual back. And like I said, the irony, of course, is that it's happening just as overnight we've had this devastating news coming out of Mamelodi. The final hour of the show, we're going to look at the role of women in heritage, conservation, and commemoration. And we're going to be joined by a young lady who is the founder of, who is the spokesperson of the Nyati Foundation. And the Nyati Foundation has been doing different kinds of work honoring women, and they have focused part of that work on Dr. Esther Mahlangu, and the role that she's played as a heritage practitioner and somebody who's promoted Ndebele art and taken it really to the world. And our conversation is going to be around how women then can play a role through visual arts in conservation of heritage. And we'll wrap things up in the final hour of the show with the G20 series with Lerato Tsebe. Can you believe it? Under 2 months' time, the G20 summit of South Africa's presidency at the helm of the G20 is going to be handed over to the United States. Where has the year gone? I guess there's so much that has happened, but undoubtedly a lot more that still needs to happen before we get to November. So that's just a quick look at what's coming up on the show over the next 3 hours. Of course, we'll also continue to keep a close eye out on some of the protests that are unfolding this morning. If I look in Westbury, and the morning brief touched on the protests that are taking place there. It's protests by residents over water supply issues and the lack of stable water supply. Out in Pretoria this morning, or in Tshwane, Hammanskraal residents are also taking to the streets, and they're heading to the president's office once more, asking for intervention with regard to a lack of water and a lack of stable water. And there's, of course, been some progress in as far as the infrastructure that was needed to be built to ensure that residents would be able to actually start receiving clean, potable water. Some of it, of course, has also stalled. Some of the deliverables with these projects have been interrupted. And this, again, being as a result of delays in the implementation of projects. But the reality that citizens face now is that things in Hammanskraal haven't changed significantly from what they were in 2023, when there was a cholera outbreak that claimed the lives of so many people. In fact, there were 23 deaths that were reported at the time, and 99 cases of cholera confirmed. So there's been a delay in as far as the implementation of the Magalies water klipdrift project is concerned. It was supposed to be completed in June, but to date it's not done. The update that Mayor Nasipi Moya gave to Parliament, this was just in the last while, was that project had started delivering water, that there was water coming out of taps in some households, but residents were still urged and were still warned not to drink it. Some were saying that it looked clean, but it still does not look like it's safe to drink. What's fueling part of the anger now is that residents are being made to pay for water that the city is providing as an intervention for this. So in order for the water tankers that are, contracted by the municipality to go and distribute water, in order for them to actually give you water, you have to pay them. I think the rate is between 200 and 250 rand that they'll pour some water into your JoJo tank. And it's a rate that is unaffordable for many residents. And it's leading and building into the frustration that they have. And that's why we see them back out on the streets. But again, it's just failure of services. Failure of services. What do you expect people to do? Can anyone really go a day without water? What more for when you're being put in a perpetual position of having to scramble just for water, just so that you can get by? Think about children going to school, people needing to go to work, needing to cook. These are basics that people just can't do because of the failure of service delivery. So when we see residents protesting like what we're seeing in Westbury now, yes, we can condemn the protests, especially where there's destruction to infrastructure and all other threats of violence that come with it. But at the same time, put yourself in that resident's place and in their shoes. Think about how long you would survive without water, making do with whatever you can. It's an untenable situation, is the reality, that many residents and many people in this country, it's an untenable position that they're being put in. So we'll watch then those water protests that are taking place in different parts of the country this morning. But of course, it is your national roundtable, and you get to set the agenda. I'll take your calls on 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
#SAFM Talking Point.
EFC's heavyweight title fight is live this Thursday. Elvis Moyo, the legend, a name whispered in the halls of greatness.
Elvis is the heavyweight champion of the EFC.
Now stands on the edge of his greatest enemy, Mutunga Jikasa. Triple H enters the Hex with a score to settle. Now redemption is on the line. EFC is live this Thursday from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Tourism Business Council of South Africa presents the Tourism Leadership Conference from the 17th to the 19th of September under the theme Matters of Tourism, Growth, People and Policy. The conference brings together leaders to explore how tourism drives jobs, growth and opportunity in South Africa. Catch SAFM live on Thursday, 18 September, for exclusive conversations shaping the future of tourism. The TBCSA, the leading voice of tourism in South Africa. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Well, let's start off the conversation this morning with Arthur. You're in Pongola. Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning, Cathy, and South African SA listeners.
Yes, sir.
You see, this is a problem that we have, and it's so touching me, this matter that you're talking about of the police raid, the hostage of the mom and cousin. But the picture, I've got three factors which we had to take it into consideration, and sometimes we don't have to be personal with this, and we have to be factual with it. Number one, our mothers must start telling us the truth about our biologically fathers. Because the moment you discover that he or she has already betrayed you for so many years, nothing that comes, because it puts you off, because you have lost everything with the identity for someone else who doesn't belong to you, who is not a biological father. Secondly, I would suggest or submit that government must start to make this thing a compulsory factor if you are giving a baby in a hospital, before they let you go out, take a biological blood sample to test if the biological father you claim he is the father of the child is indeed the father. Lastly, they had to find out this government, especially Home Affairs. Home Affairs, once anyone come up to say, I'm not belongs to that father, and I've already found it out, they must not make it harder for that person to change that identity or surname, especially a surname. This is a fiasco. Even if you can go too deep down from, I have seen that even the people who are dealing with mental issues, they don't talk about that because they are afraid. They are directly involved as well.
Yeah, look, Arthur, I know that what you're referencing is some of the reports around why this officer was in distress in the first place, right? Because so far the allegation is that his fiancée, the child that he shares with his fiancée was fathered by somebody else. That's the allegation. But that he has been raising this child as his own. And it's very difficult because these are very personal and private matters that happen between individuals. But I don't know if it would be practical to have wholesale DNA testing of every child that is born in the country to verify that the person being registered as their father is indeed the father of the child. With all the other challenges that we have, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying from an implementation point of view, I don't see how that is going to be possible.
To be honest with you, Cathy, I haven't heard the full details of that particular story, but I'm just on a side where that if I find out now my father is not the biological father I thought it was, I will just go rampant. So this is not just even a personal matter, it's a common cause because we Africans have got that tendency. We've got to act it on that. If you want to just close that gap or completely destroy that thing to not ever existed, we had to do it because it has been done by our forefathers, it has been happening to our mothers and grandmothers, and now it's us. We are involved in that situation.
Yeah.
We cannot be in the same position. It cannot be an occurrence. It will be just, it's a normal. When it happens, we wonder why.
I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying differently, Arthur, that if you are in that situation and this is what you are just finding out, what is that likely to trigger in you as an individual? But why do you think families play such a role in as far as hiding the truth, shielding the truth, living with the lie? Because that's what families do. Families protect the lie, and they also do their best to ensure that it never comes out.
You know what now? I'm no longer get along with my own family for that reason. Because I felt like they betrayed me for so long. It's not like it's a hidden agenda. You know, to hide someone, he will live in the shadow of as unknown, and then he will behave like he's someone else, but no one exactly they know he's someone like this. Automatically, they have already stole his original identity.
So, Arthur, it sounds like you've had a personal experience with this. Do you want to share what happened with you?
No, I'm not raised by a stepfather, and then when a stepfather, when I grow up, he will tell me that, hey, I'm no longer belongs to him. I'm a Shangani child. I ended up just being a nickname of a Shangani because when you go to the Malume side, to the mother side, they don't want to talk. They will say, man, this one we are. But bottom line, they are hiding. It's like when you talk about the state capture, if someone is hiding, state capture is something that is long over existed, even our homes. They live with hidden agendas and lies. So this is the thing. If we can't act on it right now, we will always complain and say we have a lot of gender-based violence. Only to find out the root cause of a gender-based violence is from our homes. You hide someone that your father is this one, you will appoint the other father because maybe he's rich, maybe he's got something that you benefit, the family that benefit, that one that maybe that is poor. Maybe you choose because on a tribalic side is not just a person who's being accepted from that nation. you had to lie and say, no, this is child for so and so and so, and then disappear.
Yeah, Arthur, thanks for putting through this call and also for sharing your experience with us this morning. And it goes to the deep hurt that this
And
also causes.
it's a normal thing. The reason why I'm raising it like this is that when we look at the police guy, we may say it's a mental issue. It's not a mental issue. It's just that we are afraid to deal with the real thing because our mothers must start to tell the truth. This is the only thing that I'm requesting. That mothers, if you're a mother and so you know you have a child, you say it belongs to so and so and so, knowing exactly it not belongs to that, just tell the truth. Because the moment he find out, he will hate you for life.
Okay. Arthur?
Thank you.
Thanks for that call. A perspective, at least, in light of what took place in Mamelodi. But there's so many of those situations, right, that one encounters in their own families and even in other families, where it's like people know and everybody lives with that lie. And then people must find out when they're like in their 20s and in their 30s and have literal self-identity crises and breakdowns because there was this lack of honesty. We have to ask ourselves why we do it. Why is that truth so bitter to swallow? Why not just be honest with a child? And there's always this feeling that, no, they're too young. You were too young. You couldn't handle it. But the truth is the truth. Why didn't you give me an opportunity to decide whether I could handle it or not myself? That is probably much better than discovering, when you're leading to significant events like getting married, then suddenly people are having sleepless nights. And then now they must tell you, oh, by the way, because for purposes of the next phase of your life, it's important for you to know 1, 2, 3, 4. It's completely unfair. We'll continue to have the conversation on The Talking Point. It's 9:30, time for your latest news headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, police have fired rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury near Johannesburg. They are demonstrating against water rationing. Dozens have barricaded the busy fuel road linking parts of Johannesburg with Soweto and Roodepoort. Parliament's ad hoc committee set up to investigate allegations of threats to the country's national security will meet today to get a progress report in preparation for the public hearings. And the M23 rebel group has blamed the DRC government for the deaths of 14 South African soldiers who were part of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the region. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, we continue the conversation on The Talking Point. Zoe, I want to take you in first because you want to respond to Arthur. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Cathy,
yes, sir.
I cannot overemphasize the truthfulness of Arthur's comments on the DNA testing of paternity. I can't overemphasize. He's 100% correct in that. Are you there, Cathy?
Yes, I am, Zoe.
Yeah, that needs to be done. That could also be made even a requirement when applying for child support grants, so-called child support grants, that we must know who the father of the child is, because now with so much binge drinking, young women drinking and so on, being so promiscuous and bitchy, it's worrisome, because at the center of our heritage, these clans, the clan names are central to our cultural heritage. So how can you not know who the father's child is?
Yeah,
so
Zoe,
yeah.
I hear the argument that you're making around DNA, right? And I hear that. I do think, though, how you frame it is problematic. Because what is insinuated is that then women that fall pregnant are being promiscuous. They're having multiple partners. I don't think that's the right way of seeing it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
No,
We can't go into the conversation with a preset idea of the people that are involved. Everybody's going to have different circumstances. They're going to have their own individual context. But we can't say because women drink, because women are so-called promiscuous, because women are having multiple partners, therefore we need DNA testing. Should it not be that because we have high father absenteeism, or because we actually just want to give individuals in society a fair opportunity to know who their biological parents are, there should be DNA testing?
No, Cathy, that was not the reason I was giving, but I was just giving a background that given also the fact that that is what is happening now. But for DNA, it is not the reason that I support that the DNA test must be done so that to check out who the father is. No, that is not the reason for the promiscuity and all things. I'm just putting the context that the likelihood of the mother not knowing who the person who impregnated her is. So in that context, also I'm saying that the complication arise from that when you're doing this DNA testing, they may not even know who the father could be because of their promiscuity. So I'm just adding that to that it would be complicated, not easy to do it in the context of this new culture of subculture of drinking. So I was not saying that the reason for.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, but on the other hand, I guess when you look at again the high rate of absent fathers, will these men be available for that DNA testing?
It is exactly, it will help also in that line so that we know. Because when you do that, there must be a form, a special design form to say that you have given birth. Then after a certain period of time, you may apply for a grant, and the social worker must find out. It's like it will help even in social research to know what's going on. Because even.
Oh, Zoe. Okay, that's not a good sound. Every time you hear that sound, you must get worried because it means that our phone lines have dropped. Unfortunately, we've lost Zoe on the line, and we're going to see who else we can bring up on the line in the meantime. Okay, so I'm going to have to give the team just a bit of time to do that. I'm getting a number of messages from you, and it's on the same issue. Anonymous here says, I don't get along with my cousin who only visits my house when I'm not around. I work night shift and he comes to my house when I'm at work during the day. I've beaten him up. Actually, I wanted to kill him. Now we have factions in the paternal family rather, because of this issue. Sure. Somebody else says, Cathy, I'm afraid Arthur is spot on. Believe it, it's true. I know that, but it's a long, winding story. I guess this particular listener doesn't want to share the full details of the story. Somebody else in Maluti Apofung on a different issue. Morning, Cathy, on the issue of water. We're now on the 4th week without water and no explanation has been provided. We really, really need help. That is from Lipitla Samuel out in Qwaqwa. In Maluti Apofung. I want to take some of the voice notes that you've been sending through on this particular issue.
Cathy, good morning. So, the Westbury residents are asking for Ramaphosa to intervene. That sounds like a joke, because Cyril Ramaphosa does nothing for the communities. Absolutely nothing. He never intervenes in things like this. I mean, he himself spoke in Parliament yesterday about water, but he wants us to tell him why no water is coming out of the taps. And our lady said, they're looking to us for answers. We cannot ask them to tell us why this is not happening and why that is not happening. So, Ramaphosa, he does nothing because he doesn't care. And that is a fact. Teresa.
Morning, Cathy. Yeah, the issue of suicide is a very terrible situation in South Africa. And it's mostly common in men. I mean, if you look at the stats of 2023, it says about 14.1 per thousand commit suicide per year. That translates to about 14,000 per year. If you look at men are actually 4 times the women suicide rate, which is about 22.8 per thousand. So men, really, we have a serious problem. I think we need help. Psychologically, there's something that is happening in our minds. Thanks, Cathy.
Good morning, Katie, and your producer and all the listeners of SAFM. Katie, I like to talk regard to the police. The police, they've been through a lot, Katie. So they need support, they need counseling. And the Minister of Police, I think they must give the police maybe each and every after 6 months or 3 months, they must take all the police to the hall and then invite the pastors and social worker, so that they must give the police chance to talk. If what is the problem in your life, because the police, they've been through a lot. I talk regard to the police that is take suicide there and commit suicide in Mamelodi. It's very painful, Katie. That is my concerns here from Cape Town. Thank you.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. This is Mbongo Sundisa. Sis Cathy, can people please fear God? And the Bible says, like, love your neighbor as you love yourself. As Mopian woman gave birth on the pavement because he could not be allowed to enter the clinic since she is a foreigner. Nobody assisted her. She gave birth by herself. That's very, very cruel. I don't even what Operation Tutura is doing is fine, but then like when it comes to emergency, please guys try to understand, man. You can't give birth by yourself. The blood that came out, wow, that was almost 5 liters. Please, people, stop being cruel in the name of like being a South African.
Yeah, sure. I mean, our humanity at some point must kick in. And yes, there are interests that we feel are being undermined from a country level, but it cannot be what is used to justify treating people in the most inhumane of ways. Let me go to Les in the Western Cape. Good morning, Les.
Hi, Kathy.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Yes. First of all, I want to talk about the municipality, especially the city of Cape Town. The city of Cape Town. Okay, in this case, there's some other areas where they need service delivery. If I can say Kailicha, Langa, Nyanga, Mishes Plate, and some other places. In those places, if they need service delivery, when the are going to serve the service delivery plan or to fix something like storage and everything. So those employees, when they go there, they are unable to go to those areas just because their car are going to be hijacked. And then they must pay some protection fee or they can be robbed. Can you hear me, Kate?
Yes, Les?
Yes, they can be robbed. So I want to know, just because, what is the purpose? What is the purpose, the duties of the councillor? Okay, even the duties of the councillor, in those places like Kaili, Chanyanga, they voted for the ANC councillor. Okay, they are blaming the DA. The DA is not serving the delivery to some certain areas or wards, which are ANC wards. And apart from that, there's no service delivery that can supply it there just because those people, they are robbed and they must pay some protection fee to some areas, something like that. And as a result, they say the D only serves the people who are staying in suburbs. So my question, if the situation is like this, because it's too costly, when the government vehicle is going to fix some other services to the township, they must have some, and the police are running short. They must have some police, not one, maybe four, on them so that they can fix the service. And it's too cost. So I'm trying to say, how can we solve that problem just because that problem is happening in a black?
Yeah, look, Les, for me, I would say that part of it also comes down to that public safety conversation that we were having yesterday. Because as long as we are not seeing what is happening in the context of the promise to provide a safe environment in which citizens are able to enjoy their democratic freedoms, then how we see it will be skewed. Because even the fact that residents have to pay protection fees, and this is the life that they now have had to become accustomed to, without intervention of the state, without clear resolution of that issue from the state, is problematic in and of itself. So I understand what you're saying around why they are the views around lack of services or underservicing in certain areas. But we're talking about the state here. If the government doesn't have enough power to go in and bring order into a portion of society, then why are they a government? Why do they sit and rest with the power and with the resources? That's the reality of the matter. You can't have no-go areas for police officers. Once there's a no-go area for a police officer, it tells you that that problem has been allowed to get out of hand. Elias, you're in Benoni. Good morning.
Got that problem the first caller called, and then I'm now 60 years old, and only find out when I'm 60 that my father, that I thought he was my father, but he's not the one. And they all have died now. When I go to the home affairs, and then they tell me to bring somebody older than me, and then so that he can be my witness. So I've got all the people that I'm with now. They're younger than me. Then what can I do?
Elias, how did you find all of this out?
I found out from my mother, and my mother, just as soon as I wanted to try to change that surname, and then my mother died, and then now I'm left with the younger sisters, and my siblings are younger than me.
And did she give you a reason, Elias, for why she kept it hidden for so long?
Yes, she did. She did give me the reason. Then she said she didn't want it to tell me because I'll be the only one, and then I won't have any siblings, and then I won't have any help from the other siblings. So that is why she passed me to the other siblings so that I may grow up and then with the help of the others.
Sure, Elias. How do you feel about all of it, especially now when you look at the fact that...
because and my children want to change the surname. My sons, they don't want to grow up and their children with the surname.
Mm. And you've met your father's side of the family? Do they know about this?
Yes, I met them, but the father is no more. And then the only siblings, the father, the mother, that father that helped me grow up, and also they're all gone.
Sure. Yeah, Elias, I have no idea. Hey, this is one that I think only the Home Affairs Department can assist in terms of what exactly you would need to do. Elias, I'll put your number through to our producers, and they can put in a call to the Home Affairs Department for you to see what the other options might be. But again, at 50 years, you've lived probably almost half of your life believing one thing. Azania, you're in the Eastern Cape. Good morning.
Good morning, Mohlahlana. Great show today.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the police officer story that happened in Mamelodi.
Go for it.
Yes, condolences to the family that had to go through it. And it was really unfair to the police service. We stand with them. And what I'd like to say then is that maybe this is an opportunity for like places like the Zone of Justice, Constitutional Development to develop laws that uplift male mental health. You understand what I mean, man? Hello, can you hear me? Man?
Yes, Azania, I'm giving you an opportunity to say what's on your mind.
I was saying that Zone of Constitutional Development, like people like Clarissa Zendaya, who are like people in charge of family advocate officers, Nosipho Khans, here in the Eastern Cape, who are deeply in charge of male problems in family situations, to like take charge, take the bull by the horns. I mean, it doesn't help complaining all these years that men don't take part in these things. I mean, if people can sell tobacco in a machine to men, I'm sure they can sell like a therapy program that uplifts male mental health. Because all these things are like stacked up against men. Like men, like speaking from personal experience, I've seen men who said they've never seen their children's clinic cards. They're not allowed to see the child's birth certificate. They're not invited to child's birthdays. They're not invited to child's graduations. It's like these women are gatekeeper parents, parental alienation on top of these children, like controlling the parenting situation to the point where men fall apart. I mean, these situations are so prevalent, man. I mean, to the point where men operate from a space of violence. And it's pretty big here in the Eastern Cape, man, to the point where some people say that it's Xhosa culture to be violent men. It's quite sad, man.
Azania, I'm just thinking, from your perspective, you are a male. What is it that you think can be done to open up spaces for men to be able to say what it is that they're going through, what it is that they feel?
My thing is kind of like socio-psychological, the way that I look at things. I think that like there's a lot of missed potential from white women specifically, especially elderly white women
There's
live
a lot of what?
Missed potential. Like we're not using the potential and the skills, the knowledge, and the wherewithal that comes with white women who live during apartheid, who have like the ancestral knowledge of the back knowledge of how colonialism was actually constructed. Because a guy from one of these political organizations once spoke during a Women's Day rally and said that apartheid and colonialism was built to benefit white women. Principally, like the main goal of these white men came to Africa to benefit their white women, their wives. So you could root it there, like, wow, how do white women get the best resources here in South Africa? And can it direct it to black women so that black women can build black families? Like, my thinking is around there, man. Like, build township families to be like families that are run by white women. Because those are best resource families in South Africa, unfortunately.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Because it cuts off the strain. Yeah. It cuts off the strain a little bit, man. Because I see black women carry so much weight on their shoulders to the point where they just inflict it on young children, on innocent black men sometimes.
Azania, sure. What a call. Thank you for sharing your insights this morning. And I do think that what you're saying about the pressure that black women live through is really something to be looked at as society. And sometimes, wittingly or unwittingly so, because of that pressure. You know the phenomena of the angry black woman? Part of that actually is developed at the heart of what is happening within a family level, because there's a level of aggression and an anger that the broken environment that you have to survive through also that brings on you. So I think that it's an important perspective that you're bringing in, Azania, and how that feeds into all of these different conversations. What is it that people then do to survive? What is it that people do in the name of protecting their children? Remember what Elias from Benoni said. He said his mother didn't want him to be alone, didn't want him to not have people he could depend on. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's about, as we make sense of our lives, what then do events like that mean? This message coming through from one of our listeners, also anonymous. He says, "Hi, Cathy. I'm a volunteer at a police station offering a service to survivors of crime, but also to the police officers at the station. The truth is they don't use our services. It has something to do with a men don't cry culture and a sense of shame about appearing weak." And that's from somebody who's actively doing this work on a day-to-day basis. Is that evolving, though? Is that changing with the times? Do men feel like they can cry now? Do men feel like they can speak? And it's not a reflection of weakness? Prince, you're in Durban. Good morning.
Hi.
Yes,
Sure. Cathy.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to speak about capitalism in this country. Prior to the fact that these capitalist people, aka the rich people in this country. The rich people, they came into this country and planted this capitalism all over the place carelessly. Hello?
Yes, Prince, I'm listening.
Yeah, and then when the reaping time comes, they get shocked by the results, and then they decide to run away to Daddy Trump, like to cry for help instead of solving the problem. So here's my point, Kat. Mosi, we live in a third world country. South Africa is a third world country. Agreed, Mosi?
Yes.
So if South Africa is a third world country, so you tell me what happens if the country, if now with this, somebody decides to privatize the country, to turn the third world country into a private company. What happens? Obviously, you can't do that and expect everything to go like Hakuna Matata. No. There's going to be a problem because we all know that a private company only serves those who can afford. What about those people who can't afford, since it's a third world country? How are those people gonna be able to survive in this country? How are we expecting them, all of us in this country, how are we expecting them to survive if the country now has been turned into a private company, serving only those who can afford? Obviously, chaos becomes a normal thing. We shouldn't be like shocked, surprised when things like gang violence is happening down there in the Cape. It's all because of poverty. Those people are excluded. They are deprived from being humans. So they do not have any other choice other than turning themselves into animals and start running around all over the place, destroying everything they see in the name of survival.
Sure. Prince? Yeah, Prince, let's leave it there. But again, a very strong contribution on the inequality, I think, in the country and the role of capitalism in all of that. Thabo, you and Brits, good morning.
Morning. Oh, I just wanted to tell you about my story, man. I had a kid with someone, they didn't tell me for 13 years. Then I found out after 13 years that I have a child with her. So I don't know what to do. Even the child, yeah, we can be together. We talk, but it's not simple as raising him from the ground.
And Thabo, what reason did she give you for why she didn't tell you all these 13 years?
I don't know. Maybe that time the parents didn't want me to know because they had money at that time. Now when they are broke, they came back and tell me then.
Have you asked her why she didn't tell you?
I did ask her. She just said, no, the parents didn't want me to know. They will raise the kids on their own. Now their business it's broke. Now she came back because now she's struggling now.
And where did that find you in life, Thabo? Did you have your own other family? How has that sort of fit into the context of where you were? And what is it that you've had to do to try and make sure that you build a relationship with this 13-year-old that now knows you as their biological father?
I'm trying to build a relationship with him, but it's not simple. Even my side, I've got other kids on the side. Now it's become a bigger problem.
In what ways?
Because I've got other kids and I didn't know that I have another kids on the side and I didn't plan for it. But if you could have told me before, it could have been better.
Sure. Okay, Thabo. Thanks for calling in, for sharing that experience with us. Yeah, there's so many things that are feeding into this issue around fathers, and I also think fatherlessness. It always will come down to the unique details of any situation, but I think in the past hour what we've heard is what it leaves in its wake. Hurt, betrayal, broken families, lack of connection between families, lack of relationship between parents and children. And those are the things that we have to be thinking about. How do we ensure that we are healing and not breaking? Because it feeds into the society that we create ultimately. Where are all of these broken people going to go? What are they going to do? What lives are they going to live? We'll continue the conversation on the other side of this. Citizens Corner will be coming up and we'll be looking specifically at suicide today and suicide prevention. Before we get into that, your latest 10 o'clock news update.
This week on FC Meets, sports brand specialist and creative director Chama Malulega talks to us about the rising Yeleti sports brand. From school sport partnerships to athlete collaborations, join us to find out more. Tune into SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus on Saturday 13 September at 6 p.m. FC Meets, football made for community by community. Retain Chai Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
In our top stories, police fire rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury and Jagersfontein Dam collapse suspects to appear in court. Good morning. Police have fired rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury near Johannesburg. They are demonstrating against water rationing. Dozens have barricaded the busy field road linking parts of Johannesburg with Soweto and Roodepoort with rocks and burning tyres. They only allowing Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital medical personnel to pass through. The residents have vowed to continue with their protest action until their demands are met. This resident says the city of Johannesburg is undermining them as the problem has been going on for 8 years.
We were striking about 2 weeks ago, and they said, okay, right, fine, they're going to sort out the issue, everything will be fine. But now it's 2 weeks down the line, and we still don't have water. They had it on for about a day and a half, then they switched it on 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and then they put it off for the rest of the day. Now for this past week, there hasn't been a drop of water. I mean, now who can live like this? Who can live like this? And then they keep on making empty promises. Then there's this mafia trucks. Because once the trucks are here, then everything is fine.
Parliament's ad hoc committee set up to investigate allegations of threats to national security will meet today to get a progress report in preparation for the public hearings. The committee was established following allegations by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of serious corruption in the criminal justice system. In its last meeting, the committee indicated invitations were extended to Mkhwanazi, the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimula, Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's on special leave, Deputy National Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibiya, and Acting Police Minister Professor Feroz Kachalia, along with 2 of his deputies. Advocate Norman Arendse has been appointed to lead evidence. A Mozambican traditional healer is expected to appear before the Garankuwa Magistrates Court today. Isaac Shikumbuya faces charges of contravening the Immigrations Act, the National Health Act, and being in possession of human body parts. He's linked to the brutal murder of 20-year-old Khonsi Makubela in 2023. Nonhlanhla Njingela reports.
Khonsi Makubela was establishing her post-matric life when she was brutally murdered. She was working as an intern at a furniture shop when her assailants posing as potential clients lured her to her death. The Northwest Police nabbed 29-year-old South African Serame Moroke and 38-year-old Mozambican immigrant Samuel Mlambo. They were found in possession of Makubela's cell phone. Further investigations led to the arrest of a Mozambican traditional leader in Winterveld, who was allegedly found in the possession of the deceased body parts.
5 people and 3 companies will appear in the Jagersfontein Magistrates Court in connection with the 2022 Jagersfontein mine dam wall collapse, which claimed the lives of 3 people and left several properties damaged. This follows a criminal investigation by the Hawks in the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. The National Prosecuting Authority has ordered that the suspects appear in court today. The suspects, who are employees of an engineering company, a compliance officer and an operations manager, will face charges including murder, malicious damage to property and contravention of the Health and Safety Act. The M23 rebel group has blamed the DRC government for the deaths of 14 South African soldiers who were part of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the region. The soldiers lost their lives in clashes with the group in Goma in January. The group says the Congolese government lied about the situation in the country. The remarks come as the South African government faces criticism over the M23's presence in the country, just months after the soldiers died. The group attended the Peace and Security Dialogue hosted by the Thabo Mbeki Foundation. M23 spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka.
What happened between us and South African soldiers is DRC politics who went to lie to South African and tell them a different story. Because when South African came in DRC, they found out that these people we're fighting with, they are all brothers. They are not foreign as they told us they are foreign. This is just a politics of exclusion, a xenophobia that the DRC government implementing and spreading across.
Recapping the top story, police have fired rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury near Johannesburg. They are demonstrating against water rationing. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This summer, the continent unites for the biggest football showdown in Africa. The Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 is coming to your screens, live and available on SABC TV channels, SABC Sport, SABC Plus, and across your favorite SABC radio stations. Catch all 52 thrilling matches, stand behind Bafana Bafana, and experience every goal, every cheer, and every victory from 21 December 2025 to 18 January 2026. SABC Sport brings you all the AFCON 2025 action, live and free, because it's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game. Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, it's 10 after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the show. So much conversation and debate taking place offline in the studio today, just based on some of the calls that we received in the open line. And these are issues that speak to the heart of who we are as people. And as you get to hear everybody share their individual experiences with some of these topics, you realize that there's a lot that is lying beneath the surface that we need to have the courage to face head on, even within our family structures. Okay, so coming up in this hour for Citizens Corner, we're looking at suicide prevention. That's going to be the conversation we have. We'll do all of that after these WhatsApp voice notes.
Hello, Cathy, your producers and the listeners of SAFM. I'm Anonymous from the Eastern Cape. He had a caller raising a point about confirming DNA when children are born in hospitals. It struck a nail in my mind because if you look back during the urbanization where our grandfathers had to go work in the mines, our grandmothers were left alone in society with a few men. I'm sure a lot of shenanigans happened there, whereby when the grandfather comes back, they are what you call in our language, they are given a ginger, a child that is not theirs. These are things we don't speak about, yet they affect our lineage. They will affect our society. They will affect our line of thinking. I think it's time that we speak about these things. It's really important. It's an important issue. Thanks very much, Kathy.
Hi, Cathy and your team. The issue of mental health is not even considered in the government. There's a Department of Women, Children, and People with Disabilities, which means the men that are covered, that are looked at by the government, are men with disabilities. It's hard being a black man in South Africa. We are treated like people who are beneficiaries of apartheid. We are put in the same category as white males. It's hard. We are going through a lot. Anonymous.
The hearers of this station, you see, if you're talking about the problem of water, I think here KwaZulu, We have a lot of mainstreams and cliffs. We have to make small dams. Maybe a small dam can provide 40 homesteads. Then if we got lot of small dams, then it will provide a large area. But if we are waiting for the large area to make a big dam, adada, I'm telling you, adada. Bye.
Good morning, Sis Katie. You are speaking with Anonymous from Forgeville. I think we are led by people who so detached to the communities that they don't even care anymore. Regarding the water crisis issues, which is so untenable in Gauteng, they don't even care of looking at the aging infrastructure, the population growth, the water losses that we have through these leaks, illegal connections, poor metering. You know, some municipalities are losing up to 50% of their water due to poor governance and management. Anyway, they say the leader you choose is the leader you deserve. Thank you. Bye bye.
Morning, Cathy. This thing of water is so painful. I'm Seko from Forgeville, Kokosi Township. We are now on the third week without water, Cathy. It's so painful. I don't know what we have done to the ANC. It's so brutal. We don't have water, and water is life.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme, Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates, SAFM is where heritage meets innovation, connecting generations and keeping our culture alive in a changing world. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Well, let's get into our Citizens Corner for today. The community of Umhlanga in KZN are going to be hosting an annual walk to highlight the need to have a conversation about suicide. The walk is organized by survivors of loved ones suicide who have experienced suicide under the theme Changing the Narrative on Suicide, and they're calling on communities to break the silence and also the stigma that is associated with mental health. So to speak to us this morning, we're joined by Genevieve van Zyl. She's one of those that will be participating in this initiative. Genevieve, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Hi, Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Genevieve. And I understand here that you are one of those that lost your father to suicide.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Genevieve, I'm going to ask you just to try and speak into your phone so that we're able to hear you more clearly. While you
Can
do
you hear
that,
me now?
yes, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me introduce Joy Halel Xiang, a member of the Independent Crisis Team. Joy, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Oh, good morning to all the listeners, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to raise awareness.
Nzikelelo Mzimbovu is a visual artist. Nzikelelo, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And we also have Mkulu Nobamba Zulu, who is from the Kwanobamba Family Wellness Institute and a spiritual and mental wellness activist. Mkulu Nobamba, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy.
Genevieve, I want to begin perhaps this conversation with you. You are one of those that is actively campaigning for communities to break the silence around suicide and the stigma that it brings with it. Speak to us about the experience that you went through, especially losing your father to suicide.
Yes, Cathy, thank you for having me on the show. It's such a important subject to me. You know, it's been quite a rough acceptance, you know, accepting that mental health is a real thing. And being with someone that has gone through this for just over a year, you know, I look back and I realize that I actually didn't take it as serious as what it actually was. And the guilt that comes with it as well. It's really hard. So my father struggled for many years with mental health. You know, he would turn to addiction. He would turn to crazy ideas. And looking back now, he was actually reaching out and asking for help. But because, you know, it wasn't taken serious and we just thought it was one of these crazy things that we didn't actually support him the way that he needed to be supported. And it just got to a point where I think he just could not actually see any way out. And yeah, I mean, the phone call, it felt so surreal thinking, and so if I think back now, you know, to healing of a year and a bit, that just, I had one question that kept popping up in my mind, like, does he regret this? And it's been hard. It's been really hard. I mean, seeking out to communities, seeking out for support. In the beginning when it just happened, I really couldn't actually find support. It just felt to me that there wasn't enough support and there wasn't enough groups. But, you know, if you reach out to the right people, and so what I actually did was I phoned the suicide hotline and support line, and they sent me and gave me the right people's number to help me through this support. I mean, it's a daily struggle. It's not easy. It is a stigma. You know, it's like, oh, like what I did find is hearing people talk, oh, her father killed himself, you know. I think the other thing that I also realized in this time was that it's not selfish. It's not a selfish thing to do. None of us that go through this actually realize how hard it is. And looking back now, and even my day-to-day, trying to cope with it and the more people that know about this and the more we open up and the more we talk, the more we have people. I mean, just for instance, I started verbalizing and talking about it, and I can't tell you how many people in my close-knit family community have actually gone through this. it's actually quite crazy how many people don't talk about it.
Yeah,
like, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, sorry to interject there, because the point that you're making around the number of people that don't talk about it brings me to what I wanted to ask you, because you speak about, this great burden of guilt that you also had to grapple with once he had gone. And I'm thinking, if you were to revisit the conversations you had with him or the different interactions, was there ever any sign to you that was specific and intentional from him that said, look, I am struggling with 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think I need support in this areas? Or was it mostly where the family is responding to the symptom of what is underneath, which is the addictive behavior, and sometimes maybe what might be just, the out of this world behavior, as you describe him, that often he'd have these crazy ideas, but you just thought it was part of who he was?
So he tried to complete suicide about 6 times. In the last year before he completed it, can you hear me, Cathy?
Yes, I can, Genevieve.
Okay. In the last, the year before he completed suicide, he tried about 5 times. And we all just kept thinking, this is for attention. Look at him again. He's really, he's just, he doesn't know how to deal with things, and he's looking for attention. And he tried numerous different ways. And at the end of, it might be a bit triggering for some people, but he hung himself on the 9th of April last year. And it was, what I found about it, I don't want to really go into detail because I know it's triggering for people. I don't have a problem to go into detail with it because I know it helps other people. But it felt so aggressive to me. Like, I just felt the way he did it, where he did it, how he did it. It was so aggressive, so self-harming. And if I really look back now, there were so many times that he just said, please just help me. I really can't do this anymore. And I think this is why I really talk about it, and I need to get it out there that you do matter. And we as people that are left, dealing with this loss of suicide, I think it is just so important that we listen to our people and that we just every little thing that comes their way and what they try and reach out. They are struggling. It's not because they are stupid or they are being crazy, or I know in some cultures and some religions people don't see it this way. I think if we could just please just come together and just support people that are going through this, it is so important.
Okay. Genevieve, just thank you for being so open with your story and allowing us to tap into it this morning as we have this conversation. Joy, let me come to you, and perhaps if you can speak to us about how it is that we can take these conversations to our communities, to our families. Because if you hear what Genevieve is saying, we could all see that there was something wrong, but there was a disconnect between how seriously we took it versus what we thought was just attention-seeking behavior from the individual.
Yeah, so I can basically go into a room in any situation with any number of people, and I will bring up mental health. And I can promise you, by talking about it, if there's 100 people, at least 10 people would have lost someone to suicide or are struggling with a mental illness. So speaking up and opening that conversation, that is the most important thing.
And when people talk about having had an experience in one way or the other with it, what are they often sharing about the experience?
So for people who've lost someone to suicide, there's always the questions. They always go, what if, if I had done something different, why did this person do this? We always explain it to them in the sense that, it's like someone's chucked out a box with puzzle pieces. You're going to put some of those pieces back together, but you're never going to have that whole puzzle because you won't get all the answers because that person's not here to give it to them. So you have to accept that. And also what Prof. Schlebusch, he's a world-renowned suicidologist who is in Durban, what he also suggested is that, we encourage people to do a psychological autopsy. So basically, speak to family, speak to friends who were close to the person who's gone. And, that way you get to put more of those puzzle pieces back together, because that is the hardest thing for people to come to terms with is, not having all the answers. But you have to learn to accept that normal that you had before is no longer. So you have to take that step into your new normal and acceptance of what's happened.
Sure. And I'm thinking about the level of understanding that also needs to come with a process such as this. Do you find that it's easy for people to open themselves up to truly accepting that what has happened has happened? As you hear with Genevieve and her experience, the family trying to make sense of it, having those conversations about previous behaviors. But I also know that with other families, when somebody has lost their life to suicide, it's not even acknowledged as such. They just want to say this person died and don't talk about why they died.
That's because of the stigma around suicide. A lot of people think it's taboo. You can't talk about it. And the fact that it's not a natural death. If someone's got cancer, you can almost prepare yourself. It's not self-inflicted, so it's more acceptable to society. But the reality is, mental health is an illness. And so, people must not respond negatively to that. They have to talk about it because that's how you can save lives, because talking about it encourages people who are struggling to get help.
We're going to continue this conversation shortly. For now, it's 10:30.
Thank you, Cathy. On the news headlines on SAFM, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good morning. 2 suspects have been arrested in connection with the killing of an ANC Youth League PEC member in Limpopo. Nkateko Maluleke was shot and killed outside Klerksdorp in the northwest yesterday. Police have fired rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury near Johannesburg. They are demonstrating against water rationing, and a BBC investigation has found that the firm providing armed security to guard sites where aid is distributed in Gaza has used members of a US biker gang with a history of hostility to Islam. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Well, taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 17 rand 52 to the dollar, 23 rand 69 to the pound, and 20 rand 49 to the euro. Markets in Asia were higher at the closing bell. The JSE is mostly positive in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are currently trading in the green. Gold is trading at $3,644. Platinum, $1,387 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $66.87 a barrel.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We continue the conversation on Citizens Corner this morning, and it's really looking at suicide prevention, and we're looking at the initiative that is being held in Umhlanga in KZN this weekend around rallying the community to break the silence and the stigma around suicide, around mental health. Genevieve Van Sale is one of our guests. She's told her story of losing her father to suicide. Joy Halel Shiang is a member of the Independent Crisis Team. They offer voluntary trauma debriefing to communities and also run the solo support group and the annual walk. Ntsikelelo Mzibovu is a visual artist, and Mkulu Nobamba Zulu is from the Kwanobamba Family Wellness Institute, and we're going to be bringing them both into the conversation. Ntsikelelo, let's speak about bringing this conversation into the mainstream. You as a visual artist have also battled with depression. You've had your own journey that you've had to walk to get to where you are today. What has that experience been like for you? And I guess also getting to a point where you are so open and honest about it within the public space.
Thank you, Cathy. I think more than anything is the experience of the journey that has informed the willingness to talk about it, because one, it highlighted for me the depth and the breadth of the conversation, what we don't know as a society about the conversation, and what we need in order to sustain ourselves and our mental health as a society. So more than anything, mental health is an issue of what we don't know, what we are not aware about when it comes to our makeup as human beings, and how then that contributes to our regulation. So, for instance, a lot of us don't know that we form the emotional part of the brain before the cognitive. And therefore, because at the root of the brain is the emotional part, that all normally overtakes. If it's not well trained, if it's not conditioned right, it will overtake the cognitive part, and then it can cause havoc, because the cognitive part of the mind is what we normally rely on to run our day-to-day activities. But if that is shut down at the mercy of the emotional part of the brain, then, I mean, we know this when it comes to experiences of anger or extreme falling in love, but anything that is highly emotional, we know that it subjugates the cognitive part of the brain, so that we stop thinking with our heads. So when it comes to mental illness, and I want to differentiate this, because I think mental health is actually the practice and awareness of keeping a healthy mental check on ourselves, and mental illness is the lack of awareness of that, and being and finding ourselves subject to being dragged by our minds, which have not been trained in understanding the role that the mind plays for us. So if we're being dragged, the mind itself, it's a tool. It's not us. It's not who we are. It's a tool that we have to navigate Earth. If we're being dragged by the mind, then it can take us anywhere, because it can go anywhere, and that lack of awareness can lead us to very dark spaces. Can find ourselves. So there's also these things called set points, these vibrational set points where you get stuck. So if you're stuck in a terrible experience, which is trauma related maybe, or there's just negative emotion, a whole build-up of negative emotion, we can get stuck in that place and not be able to come out. So if we don't share this information, if we don't talk about this information, if we don't make it available for the ordinary person, people will find themselves struggling and suffering from their own minds, and not knowing that there is another way, and there's processes that you can take to release yourself from those states and move into a space of mental health.
Well, was that a frustration that you would say you experienced in your own journey, that as you were going through these experiences, some of them including what you've described, being stuck in certain emotions, being unable to move on, that to those on the outside that maybe you're sharing part of the experience with, or who don't fully understand, that they have the expectation that, but you should be done now. You should be okay now. Like, fine, we've sat down, we've heard you. Yes, it was sad, but now we're done. Stop crying. Get over it.
Yeah, no, that's so true, because everyone interprets the world from their own perspective. And unfortunately, whenever they're looking from the outside, they want to interpret what's happening on the outside from how they see it. And that's why, when people are helping you out, if someone's going to help you out with your mental issues, the first thing that they need to do is drop their own thoughts about who you are and what they're seeing, and come into your space and try to see the world from where you are, so that they can get a glimpse of where you are energetically and spiritually and mentally. But that's not something that people do. That's not something that people do on a regular basis. People generally tend to look at things from their point of view, and which is okay. That's how we're all orientated. But I think the conversation now should be a matter of, how do we have more empathy in our conversations? How do we put ourselves in other people's shoes, so that we can actually see that, hey, this person is not behaving this way because of selfish reasons, but they're actually stuck somewhere and they can't come out. They're vibrationally stuck at a place.
Mkhulu Nobamba, let me bring you in here and perhaps get again your own perspective, right, about these issues of depression, different types of mental illnesses that people in society suffer from, and how these are often, brushed under carpet, overlooked, sidelined, so that the real conversation that can come up with solutions, those conversations are often the conversations not being had.
Cathy, I think the biggest problem that we are having as South Africans, maybe in Africa as well and other spaces, is that we have somehow individualized our challenges and moved away from the warmth of the family. So in most cases, when we're dealing with these issues of depression, the issues of mental wellness, we focus on the individual that we believe has a problem. We forget that people are born from families and you are raised from within the family. In most cases, the challenges that we believe we having as individuals are not really our problems. It's the challenges that we get from the environment in which we are raised in and the people around us. Things like in business with me cocker sometimes. Things like your mental, the things that we're defining today as mental health or mental wellness problems, your suicide, your depression, even issues of bullying. I mean, I'm just from a school now. We are on a road show. We were talking to kids about mental wellness issues, including the main subject being bullying. That we tend to point the finger at the child whom we perceive as a bully. Nobody, tries to understand where the bullying comes from, because in most cases, children reflect the challenges that the families or the parents do not want to talk about or do not want to deal with. So when children go to school, they leave home with a lot of problems that causes them pain, because every single thing that we are trying to deal with today, including the main subject being suicide, emanates from the pain within. So I heard my brother here was talking about how we end up isolating the mind from ourselves. We somehow we want to deal with the mind as everything as us, and he's right. The mind cannot be separated from the spirit in you and also from your body. So when you are dealing with wellness issues, you need to address right from spirit, the body, and the soul, the soul, the body, and the mind, so that you are aligned. So families, somehow, I don't know what happened, but somehow families have surrendered their responsibilities to their own people or their own family members into society. And believe me, we can do as much public awareness as we like, but as long as we have not aligned the families and made families realize that they need to start talking to each other, have these conversations about the things that happen within our families and the things that affect our children, the things that affect our brothers, the things that affect our sisters and our parents as well. So for us to be able to win on this public campaign of sensitizing people about the issues of suicide, I believe we must bring families together. Many people who say that, I'm seeing a lot of people. I do hikes with families, I do hikes with couples, I do hikes with boy children as well. Many of these people, when I talk to them, I realize that the problem is not this person I'm talking to. The problem is mainly from within the family, and the families are not taking responsibility for that. The families are not sitting down and having the right conversations.
Yeah.
So the family spirituality sometimes gets broken, and everybody becomes an individual and they live their own life. Believe me, the mind will never cope without the support from your own family. Most people who say they are depressed, or most people who are depressed, it's mainly because, of course, not just the family issues. Of course, some people get bullied outside, and some people get picked on at work and all that. But mainly, things happen from within the family, and we don't dealing with these issues in our own family. To deal with the stigma, we need to make sure that from within our families we have the right conversations about the issues that affect the mind.
Mkhulu Nopamba, is that not part of why this becomes such a difficult thing to deal with? Because once we extend it to the ecosystem, then it means that it's not just the responsibility of one person to become well, but that everything around them also needs to support that wellness. But they're not in charge of those people. They can't make those people take accountability or responsibility for their actions. They can't make them change their ways if part of the behavior that is leading to the illness is coming from within the family itself. And I'm just thinking that how do we deal with that aspect of things? And Joy, maybe you can also come in here to speak about the experience that you have when you go out into communities. But where do we begin to lift the veil within families? Kulu?
Yes, look, I think we should try, in our campaigns, we must include what I call family wellness. Encourage families to start having these conversations. Of course, the community and the society will have to have more of these conversations, because that also brings families together. But I believe that many families have surrendered their responsibilities to the outside world, and that's it, So we're not taking responsibility for our own children. When children leave home and they go to school, we parents surrender our responsibility. We're no longer doing anything. The school will do everything. The teachers will deal with these children and all that. So we tend to easily surrender our children or our own brothers and sisters to the world, because many families are very angry, Coco. Many families are very, there's a lot of toxicity within our families, and then people end up leaving families and finding safer space outside. But you see, the space outside is not permanent. The problem is that, with friends can be your friends, and then because they are not really your family and connected to you, sometimes friends can easily delete you, and you find yourself alone and with nowhere to go. So some of these interventions are temporarily, but within the family, if we can help families to come together and help them know how to create a safe space, so that at least there must be one or two people within your own family. I'm not talking about a family of a mother, a father, and a child. I'm talking about the entire family, because there must be someone within your family, someone you can easily talk to. Of course, many families are so broken that people call each other cousins. They don't even know a brother and the difference between a brother and a sister and all that, because the brokenness within the families has created a distance amongst us. But I think the main campaign here should be family awareness.
Okay. Joy, let me come to you to give a perspective before I go to the phone lines and also take what some of our listeners are saying on the WhatsApp line.
So from a personal experience, my daughter was diagnosed with depression at 13. I knew nothing about depression. Yeah, I knew absolutely nothing. So I took it upon myself to educate myself. And when I realized how prevalent suicide is, I mean, every 40 seconds in the world, someone commits suicide. That's an epidemic. That's when I decided that I'm going to not only learn about suicide and mental health to help my own child, but also to help others. And honestly, I've been doing it since 2007 for that very reason. I can say my daughter now manages her depression. She's 33 now. It took a lot of hard work. It's very challenging as a parent, but, as the other speaker said, we have to be there. Someone has to step up to help that person. And, by learning about it yourself, when you go to the psychologists and the psychiatrists, they see that person. You as a parent are not involved. But you have to ask questions. That's how I would ask questions. And, then I would know how to manage things. So, and read up about it, learn about it. And then from the other side, it's with the crisis team, we usually go out when a suicide has happened, and we are doing trauma debriefing for the people who are now left behind. So, we are there as a form of support immediately when it happens to help people through what's going to be happening, and, where you can get support, and to just try and help them make sense of what has happened.
Yeah, sure. I want to bring the perspective of some of our listeners that are holding on the line. Lungile, let me start off with you. Good morning to you.
Cathy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Lungile. And I understand here that you lost your son to suicide.
Yes, I've lost my son. He was 15. His name was Louis. So
he was how old? 15?
A baby of the house. We were staying together. Then I was in the house also. Then I saw the signs. After you realize that you've seen the signs, but you thought, because he's an introvert, so didn't take that much, and after COVID and all those things, I thought, he's being a teenager. Then he was in his bedroom. In my house, we don't lock the doors. So I wanted him to come and eat. So when I tried to open the door, it was locked. And the rule of
Hello, Lungile. All right, it looks like we've lost Lungile on the line. We'll try to get her back up. And yeah, clearly quite an emotional experience, and I imagine also a traumatic one for her and her family. While we do that, let me go to Durban. Lake, good morning to you.
Good morning, and thanks for taking my call. Good morning to the panel. I work as a psychosocial counselor. The things that I discover a lot that impact on addictions and suicide, which you spoke about earlier, is that people don't understand their background in terms of spirituality, culture, ethnicity, and gender, how that impacts on them and their behavior in life. Suicide is one of the extremes, but I would suggest that it affects males rather than females. That is important also to know. So we do need to link spirituality. For instance, if we take a young man, African, in Xhosa, they go to Entabeni where they get circumcised, and also they do rituals for them in terms of having a goat or a sheep that gets slaughtered on their boy coming to hood. Also, when you take the general Africans, they do coming of age, spiritual, cultural activities in order to acknowledge the requirements of these different dimensions and specifications in our lives.
Okay.
I think I'll end there for now so that I don't raise these issues and make it like I'm saying it's a thesis or an assignment.
I think you've put it. I think you've put it well, Lake. Thanks for that contribution. Let me go back to Lungile. Lungile, good morning again.
Good morning, Cathy.
Yes.
Yes. Cathy, he was 16 years. We stayed in the same house. It was me and you because he was the baby of the house. He was an introvert, you know. He liked his space, so there were signs, but you just ignore them and say he's a teenager. And he felt as if he wanted to protect me all the time. Cathy?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes. He didn't want any guys around me because his father passed away when he was 2. So he had that thing that, no man in the house, even a guy says hi to me, he will just be rude to him, So all those things, you think after that there were signs, but I thought he was a teenager. Then he said to me one day, Mom, you know what, when you are 35, you are just being a waste in the world. If you are 35 and above, you must die because you are just a waste. What else must you do? And I was like, come on, you must buy a car and all those things. So when he by the way, he hanged himself, then I was in the house. I tried to open the bedroom. The rule of the house, you don't lock the bedrooms. So when I tried to open, it's locked. Then I just collapsed because I knew that something was not right. So I got the door at the back because I promised him when he turned 21, I'll give him that key so that he can be independent. So I went and looked for that key. When I opened, he was hanging there in the ceiling. Then as a nurse, I tried to, I said maybe I can resuscitate or do something. But I could see that he was cold, like cold. Then I don't know what happened. Your mind goes, you get mad because when the police came, the CID, they said, I did it. I hanged him. But at the end, I could see that even if I was not in the house, definitely I would say somebody hanged my son. So I understood what they come from because the way he was hanging. Then after that, the family, that's the problem. The family, we don't talk, especially I'm a Zulu girl, I'm a Zulu mom. We don't talk about people who committed suicide because it's a disgrace from the family. It's like a satanist, even the community, they said my son was a satanism, things like that. He wanted to do ritual with me. That's why he killed himself. Things like that. So, like in the community, people were running away from me in the streets because they said that woman, he sacrificed his son. They are satanists. That's why they've got everything. Things like that. And in the family, I was not allowed to call his name. Even when you cry, my mother would say, you're still crying, but he's dead. It was 2 weeks after I buried him. You're still crying. He's dead. Why must you cry for him? Things like that, So the thing that I've learned is that we grieve differently, and the family must support the person, Talk about it if you want to talk about him. But the worst thing is that if a person, a mother, a father, a child, experience that person close to him committed suicide, or her committed suicide, just talk about it. Talk about that person. He was a human being. He lived in this world. Why must we act as if it's a thing,
Sure.
Yeah, the most painful thing is that we don't talk about them. They don't exist.
Sure. Lungelo. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on and really letting us in as far as how you've been affected by the loss of your son and the different kind of pain then that you continue to live with today. Joy, are you able to help us understand why families struggle to talk about it? Listen to what Lungile is saying. She can't even say his name.
So, from years of doing support group meetings, what I have picked up on is that some people do find it hard to talk about it. And also what happens is when it happens, all the family are there, there's a lot of support, and then suddenly once the funeral's over, there's nothing. And then people think you need to move on. But grief is not like that. Everyone grieves differently. And for some people who've come to the support group meetings, the one lady, she used to listen to the music that her daughter used to like, and that used to make her feel closer to her daughter. And that also encouraged her son to talk about her daughter, because he was, he just couldn't say her name or do anything or even look at the pictures. She would put the pictures up and he would take the pictures down. And, she would put them back up and then she would listen to Amy's music, and that helped her. So, it's very specific. You must do what feels right for you and bring that person into the conversation, because, that person will always be your daughter, your son, your mother, your father. It doesn't mean because they're not here, they're no longer, in your life. Because they've been a part of your life, they still are. And so bring them into the conversation. That's how you honor them.
Sure. We are out of time for this conversation, but it's been really, really insightful. And I hope also helping us understand why it's important to have the conversations. Otherwise, people are living with the burden by themselves in their corners and really just looking for that support. Let me thank all of my guests, Genevieve, Joy, Nzikelelo, and Mkhulu Nobamba. It's time for the latest news update.
Thank you, Cathy. On the top stories, 2 arrested in Limpopo ANC Youth League murder, and police fire rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury. For SAFM News, I'm Ondelambana, and a very good morning. Northwest Police say the 2 suspects arrested in connection with the killing of a Limpopo ANC Youth League PEC member are guards working for a private security company. Kateko Maluleke was shot and killed outside Klerksdorp in the Northwest yesterday. Maluleke was with 6 others traveling to Kimberley in the Northern Cape for the League's meeting to prepare for the National General Council when their car was shot at. Northwest Police spokesperson Cathy Mohlahlana says the suspect's firearms have been confiscated.
The police came across one of the vehicles that fitted the description of one of the vehicles allegedly involved in the shooting. Police interviewed the duo, that is the driver and the passenger, and they indicated that they were members of a private security company contracted by Transnet, and that before being involved in an accident, they and their colleagues were chasing a vehicle that was involved in theft of Transnet cables. The two were immediately placed under arrest and the police confiscated the firearms, that is a rifle and a pistol.
Police have fired rubber bullets at protesters in Westbury near Johannesburg. They are demonstrating against water rationing. Dozens have braved the cold weather and barricaded the busy fuel road linking parts of Johannesburg with Soweto and Rotterport. They have used rocks and burning tires to barricade the road and are only allowing Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital medical personnel to pass through. They have vowed to continue with their protest action until their demands are met. They say they have been without water for weeks. This resident says the city of Johannesburg is undermining them as the problem has been ongoing for 8 years.
We were striking about 2 weeks ago, and they said, okay, right, fine, they're going to sort out the issue, everything will be fine. But now it's too low, 2 weeks down the line, and we still don't have water. They had it on for about a day and a half, then they switched it on 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they put it off for the rest of the day. Now for this past week, there hasn't been a drop of water. I mean, now who can live like this? Then there's this mafia trucks, because once the trucks are here, then everything is fine.
Traffic is now flowing freely on the R550 near the R23 in the Tsakane and Vlakfontein area east of Johannesburg. This follows a service delivery protest earlier this morning, during which community members barricaded the road with rubble. The Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department's Joy Mdluli says residents are now waiting to be addressed by local leaders.
Currently, EMPD, FRU and Tsakane precinct officers are on the scene monitoring the situation and have cleared the rubble from the roadway. The traffic is now flowing freely. Protesters are currently waiting to be addressed by the ward councillor.
5 people and 3 companies will appear in the Jagersfontein Magistrates Court in connection with the 2022 Jagersfontein mine dam wall collapse, which claimed the lives of 3 people and left several properties damaged. This follows a criminal investigation by the Hawks and the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. The National Prosecuting Authority has ordered that the suspects appear in court today. The suspects, who are employees of an engineering company, a compliance officer and an operations manager, will face charges including murder, malicious damage to property and contravention of the Health and Safety Act. About 140 families were displaced when tailing from the mine dump covered parts of the town on the 11th of September 2022. A BBC investigation has found that the firm providing armed security to guard sites where aid is distributed in Gaza has used members of a U.S. biker gang with a history of hostility to Islam. Nearly 1,400 Palestinians have been killed while seeking food in parts of the Gaza city in recent months. The BBC's Andy Verity has the details.
The Infidels MC biker gangs celebrate the year 1095, when Pope Urban II attacked Muslims as a vile race, urging Europeans to recapture the Holy Land from Muslim control. The gang is currently hosting anti-Muslim hate speech on its Facebook page. We've identified 10 members of the gang working for UG Solutions, the firm in charge of armed security at aid sites run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF. 7 bikers are in senior roles, such as leading armed security teams. UGS said it didn't screen people out for affiliations unrelated to job performance. GHF said it had zero tolerance for any hateful biases or conduct.
Recapping the top story, Northwest Police say the 2 suspects arrested in connection with the killing of a Limpopo ANC Youth League PEC member are guards working for a private security company. I'm Mondelambana for SFM News. Headlines at 11:30.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 500ml Monster Energy Drink, any 2 for 28 Rand, and 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 80-gram Cadbury Chocolate Slabs, any 2 for 32 Rand, and 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Prices valid until 22 September 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
When you're smiling, on 19th September, wear your favorite socks to school or work
and help spread smiles to children across South Africa.
The sun comes shining through.
Get your Socks for Smile sticker today at smilefoundation.co.za because every sticker helps fund life-changing surgeries for children in need. Smile Foundation. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Good morning, SAFM. Good morning, Katie. You are speaking to Josie Bush here in Rondapelt, Chimiston. I'm listening to this conversation of absent fathers. You know, it is very unfortunate, and I also combine it with the topic of men committing suicide and all the troubles that we are facing as men. I was left with a child, a 2-year-old. She is now 9. We stay together, and I think I am sick, and I think I haven't healed. And the mother, hasn't called or does anything. She has left the child ever since she left the child when she was 2, up until this present day. So I'm still waiting for troubles and problems in my life. So how about that for a man?
Good day, Kathy. I've been dealing with this issue all my life. I'm 42 now, but when I was 14, my dad committed suicide. But what happened is the night before, he actually gave me his gun to keep for him. And being young as I was, I just left the gun where he usually puts it. And the next day, he committed suicide. At my age now, I go through that guilt trip that I should have done something. I should have given the gun to somebody else. And yeah, it's a battle, Kathy. It's a battle. And I think at times I fall into that depression, and it's just difficult, very difficult.
Morning, this is Tabsha Bloemfontein. Now, talking about suicide, my uncle, who is a younger brother to my father, lost a child while the child was infant. He drowned while the wife was still doing the laundry. The second child committed suicide. He hanged himself because my uncle was against his Rastafarian beliefs. The third child was hit by the car on R30 road, and he and the wife got in an accident. The wife was paralyzed. So 2 years down the line, the wife passed away. My uncle could not cope with what has happened in his life. He committed suicide along with his daughter. So the family is closed. That's how suicide affected us as a family. We've never been healed.
Good morning. I am highly disrespected and deeply offended by the decision of SAFA to take the Bafana Bafana matches, not to Bloemfontein per se, but to that particular stadium. Because you know what? Football lovers, we pay our hard-earned last cents to go watch beautiful football in stadiums. And worst part, during the week when we were supposed to sleep early and wake up in the morning to go to work, but we sacrifice our time to go watch our beautiful games. That stadium, man, is not, and the authority must come and account. I know the Lesotho Bafana games, Lesotho was hosting, but it was given that stadium by us, you understand? So the authority must come and answer. We are offended. That stadium is not suitable for, and it's a risky to the players as well. Thank you.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right. Thank you all for those WhatsApp voice notes that you've been sending through. And of course, just a reminder, if you feel that you need support or you just want somebody to reach out to, the SADC Suicide Crisis Helpline is available. It operates 24 hours a day. And the number that you can dial for that one is 0800 567 567. That's 0800 567 567. It really is a great resource to have, and you don't have to think about whether the problem that you have is big enough to actually go to them. If you feel that you need somebody to speak to, you need a safe place, I would highly recommend that you get in touch with SADC on the Suicide Crisis Helpline, and they'll at least be able to give you the support that you need and even refer you to people in your area that can provide some kind of support and intervention. So that line again, 0800 567 567. Okay, so we're going to get into our final conversation of the morning. And this is as we transition then to focus on Heritage Month. We're looking at the role that heritage conservation and commemoration plays in our society. Our next guest has demonstrated that through the foundation that she's part of. Unkemetse Tlhape is with the Nyati Foundation. Unkemetse, good morning to you, and thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and thank you so much for inviting me to the show this morning.
So whenever we talk about Esther Mahlangu, it is just one of those names that is not only 150% South African, right? But it's synonymous with what the work of this woman that has given her life to preserving her heritage and working through her heritage, what that has done for the country on a global stage. You look at big names that have worked with her, big brands that have worked with her, and it just shows what's possible, because sometimes we can undermine the value of what we have for ourselves, right? Ndebele culture has been with us for so long. But for whatever reason, when Esther Mahlangu began to get that international spotlight, it did make all South Africans see her art and see her preservation of heritage in a completely different light. And it speaks to what's possible.
Yes, definitely. And as a foundation, it's a good thing that August follows. August comes right before September, because as a foundation, we decided to honor Dr. Esther Mahlangu for her work in empowering other young women to reach her level. So we were building an iconic woman sort of ladder of legacy to say, this is where you are and this is where you can get if you are inspired by women like Dr. Esther Mahlangu. And now it transitions into September, which is Heritage Month. And she has managed to use her Ndebele legacy and heritage to build that all of that we look up to. So as a foundation, we found it befitting to actually honor Dr. Esther Mahlangu and to let the world know that it starts with that painting brush. It starts with your Ndebele heritage. It starts with you owning up to your purpose in order to be the best version of yourself.
And I think the appreciation of one's heritage, right, that is something that needs to be inculcated from as early as possible. What has been the experience that you found, the work that you do, working with young people, working with elderly people, and just how it is that we position our heritage so that it's not seen as an optional extra, the thing that we do on Heritage Day. Yes, it's part of us, but how do we highlight it? How do we make it prominent in our own lives?
I think it starts with knowing your purpose and knowing who you are and where you're going. We are a preserver of culture and heritage because it defines and it embodies who you want to be, whether you are in corporate, whether you are taking part in sports, whether you're an entrepreneur up and coming, but it is your heritage that will lead you to the person that you want to be. And that is the best version of yourself. And as a foundation, we do, like you said, invest in young people who want to climb up that ladder. And you can always tell a genuine person by them knowing exactly who they are and where they come from.
So when you are looking at communities to work with, how do you identify the projects that then you will support?
We identify the projects that we want to support by placing a microscope on underserved communities. You'd be surprised that until this day, there's still communities in South Africa that are severely underserved. So we try to bridge that gap between the haves and the have-nots to say we will partner up with different organizations, different catalysts, different foundations as well, in order to bridge that gap between them and the people on the ground. So we always have a connection with the people on the ground and the people who need the help, and a connection with people who are able to help them. So identifying them is a matter of being strategic in the kind of foundations that we also partner with. You'll find at Nyati Foundation that we are the foundation of other foundations. So we get to people and we are attracted to people who do good in their communities on the ground, and then we connect the resources in order to, amplify those voices and make sure that the resources are utilized properly.
Let's talk about the Dr. Esther Mahlangu Arts Center that you've been supporting, and what is happening with that particular work.
So the work has not started yet. During the Iconic Women event on the 21st of August, we are honoring Dr. Esther Mahlangu. That's when we made the announcement and declaration to put our efforts and our plans into action, to say we are calling out to other NGOs, other people who want to make a change in the community, other people who are involved in the arts, who can come and partner with us to make the Arts Center a success. Dr. Gogo Esther Mahlangu.
Okay, well, we're going to continue with this conversation shortly. Let's take a quick break.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Mr. Govinder, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Give us like a Rafiki one-liner.
Lalel, Pulapul, Simba, Kolasel. Tell me, who are you? No, here comes a person who says, who am I? I know who I am. Who are you?
Well, the storyteller is telling stories, John Carney.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on The Talking Point. We're looking at the role of heritage conservation and how it is that we can be encouraging the conservation of our heritage. Unkemetse Tlape is the spokesperson for the Nyati Foundation. So Unkemetse, you put out a call to other NGOs to say, let's put together an art center that will honor Dr. Esther Mohlahlana, what has been the response that you have received?
Had a great response so far. We've met up with a young lady by the name of Thapelo, who is running a very wonderful initiative where she teaches artists how to preserve their businesses. Not just to have you painting and doing your talent, but to back up your talent. We see a lot of artists nowadays, falling into the trap of, no longer getting work or no longer getting gigs, and then they end up depressed or they end up financially challenged. So she teaches them education and training content, skills development, and entrepreneurship and employment opportunities. So she has, set up a meeting with us and met up with us in order to come in and also assist on that front. To say, as an artist, you can preserve your legacy for the future, financially as well, and in terms of other skills, like business skills.
And what are you hoping you're going to be able to achieve through the establishment of this arts center?
The preservation of culture and heritage, and not just Ndebele culture, but culture in general, like artistic culture in general. Like I mentioned with Thapelo now, she's from Rustenburg. She's going to contribute to a school in Mpumalanga. So we are hoping to achieve nationwide kind of culture preservation where it's not just in Ndebele, but we can tap into other cultures as well, and to make sure that everything has a lasting legacy, the kind of legacy that Gogo Esther Mohlahlana has built for herself.
And the point that you're making around helping artists being able to convert what they're doing into a sustainable and viable income for themselves, that is such an important point, because with this talent, of course, sometimes South Africans or even people in general, they're not willing to pay for what it is that people have put together with their hands, because again, there's not that much value that's put to it, right? So the guy that paints a beautiful drawing on the side of the road, he's expected to negotiate his price. But if you're walking into a museum and there's a artwork that's beautifully framed hanging up on the walls, and it's described as abstract and having multiple meanings, then people think, this is worth hundreds of thousands, but what this guy has put together seems to be worth less. How do you think that we can actually change the mindset, I think, of consumers too, to see value just in the work of artists, regardless of the way in which they might be able to access markets?
I think it starts with the mindset, but it also needs to be practical in the way that the artists sell themselves and in the way that the artists present themselves. They should present themselves as business people. They should have marketing skills. They should have administrative skills. They should have networking skills. As much as other people want to negotiate for a lower price, they should also negotiate for their work to be exhibited. They must know the worth of what they are producing. So with people like Thapelo, that I mentioned from Sister Boss Holdings, she teaches artists to have that confidence to say, my work is not just a hobby. This is my livelihood. This is what I do. It's as significant as you sitting in an office from 9 to 5 o'clock. So it's work. It's the small steps we take in building a legacy.
All right. Unkemete Tlhape, let me thank you for your time on the Talking Point this morning. And she's the spokesperson of the Nyati Foundation. So our final conversation is coming up soon. It's going to be getting into the G20 series with Lerato Tsebe. Before we get into that, though, let's take some of the voice notes you've been sending through.
Morning, Cathy. This is Taru from Diepkloof. We had the same problem a few years ago. Right, we spoke to our councillor. He listened, but he didn't act. Until we bent tires, we did what Westbury is doing. We did what Hammanskraal is doing. And guess what? Since then, we never had a problem with water. Now, it started with electricity. Same thing. We blocked the roads, we bent the tires, we demolished everything 2 years back. Our electricity is okay now. No problem. Yeah, because our government, when you talk, they don't listen. You have to act, and not just act. You have to ban. You have to demolish everything. Then they'll deliver the service. I don't blame those guys who are doing what they are doing right now. Thank you very much.
Hi, morning, Katie. Bafana SBI here. Mtonjanene Nkwenkwe KZN. Katie, I'm so disappointed what's happening at Salt Lake municipality when the sewage is running through homes, and then the spokesperson said they are still to appoint a contractor at the end of October. Hey guys, please, man, we love our country, we love ANC, please work. Somebody must take this on. Thank you.
Good morning, Kathy. It's Tony from Nelspruit. Actually, Kathy, there was one guy, the first caller that came into the air, talking about someone fathering a child of another person. You know, this thing is so painful, Kathy, because right now, as it is, it's a trauma that will live with that person for life. So why can't we maybe have a legislation to say, because a mother knows the child, and they will be knowing it very well, but because of amadlelo, because of the money that will be coming from the other side, they give that person the child. So why can't it be made a crime for someone to say, right, maybe he'll be drawing some support from the other guy and then living with another person? So at the end of the day, why can't it be a crime for a woman to keep it a secret for someone else's child? I think maybe that one can solve a lot of problems that we have right now in South Africa.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
As always, when we chat tennis, great to have Bruce Davidson back on the show. Two tremendous women's semi-finals, we've got to say, but a name on everybody's lips at the moment has to be Amanda Anisimova.
She's just a great player. I was just watching that match against Osaka, and I had to watch a couple of more points on rewind. I just noticed that she moves so well. She's got great ground strokes, and she hits them very, very strongly. She's got a fantastic serve, but I think the strongest part of her game is her return of serve, and you and I know how important that is in any game, because the serve is obviously the dominant part, and if you can return that serve as well as Agassi and Djokovic, you know, to the likes, then you've got a chance of breaking serve and winning matches, and she's just got that. But what I like about her is the way she regroups. She lost 6-love to Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon.
Top Sport on SAFM.
On the news headlines, the Kraaifontein Community Policing Forum in Cape Town has condemned the killing of 6 people across the area. Northwest Police say the 2 suspects arrested in connection with the killing of a Limpopo ANC Youth League PC member are guards working for a private security company, and the army in Nepal say a nationwide curfew will be enforced until tomorrow morning to restore law and order after violent anti-corruption protests that prompted the government to quit. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
All right, it's that time of the week where we get into our G20 series with Lerato Tsebe, our number 1 diplomatic correspondent for the Talking Point. Lerato, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning to your listeners.
So, last week, let's reflect on last week. We continue to see more of the G20 related events, but it was the judiciary's turn to do their hosting the inaugural J20 meeting under the theme Justice in a Time of Change. What was nice about it was that we also got to see our Chief Justice, Mandisa Maya, because, you know, she keeps a very low profile. So good to also see her giving an address and out in the public space.
Oh, absolutely, Cathy. I was very excited for her, actually. This was her big international debut. And what a great way to sort of introduce yourself to the international community when you are hosting the G20. They were meeting in Sandton last week, Cathy, and the theme for their meeting was justice in a time of change, independence, innovation, and cooperation. It was a very, very interesting, I believe, 3 days, and packed, obviously, to the brim with, heads of Supreme Courts, chief justices, giving very laborious and long-winded presentations from what I've been reading online. A big theme and very consistent conversation that transpired throughout the last week, Cathy, was the judges talked about judicial security, judicial accountability, and independence. There's a lot of concern about cybersecurity, judiciary, and how they're going to tackle the artificial intelligence revolution. Obviously, this becomes a big challenge for them in terms of writing, scribing, reading, and researching. They talked about financial constraints, and also two very important issues I thought were political pressure on judicial appointments, removals, and other matters. So there were some very serious conversations that were taking place at the J20 last year. There's one presentation that I did read that I thought was very interesting that was delivered by the Supreme Court Justice of India, Justice Viswanathan, and his topic was advancing judicial independence and accountability, the rule of law, and he was discussing the judicial landscape in an evolving global landscape. That is what he was talking about. He was saying that essentially we need to recommit ourselves to constitutional fidelity, is the term that he uses, and that it is a prime time for people to have not only independent judiciaries, but to also have an enlightened public opinion. I thought these were very interesting teasers and points of conversation that he talks about. He mentioned in his presentation about the growing global trend of populism and majoritarianism, and how the judiciary and judicial independence need to endure this without judicial security, and that judges need to make decisions for themselves free from physical and or systemic political threat. And that we need to essentially live out these constitutions, because, and he uses such a lovely quote here, Cathy. He says that the Constitution is not just a legal document, it's a moral covenant.
And I guess in many ways, when we look at some of the themes that the J20 was dealing with, it confirms that South Africa is not alone. So the conversations that we are having about the independence of our judiciary, the conversation that we are having about being able to uphold the rule of law, these are also manifesting themselves in other parts of the world, and perhaps differently so, but the point is there is commonality of issues.
Absolutely. And I think that's sort of been, even in Justice Meyer's opening comments when I'm reading it, and with the Indian Justice's chief presentation, very much so. There's a massive, massive, massive concern about the rising risk of populism and majoritarianism, as he said, but also how independent and how safeguarded is our judiciary. It is a national conversation we are having here in this country. And also, Cathy, another issue that's really uniting all of these justices was the issue of financial inclusion and or refinancing our judiciaries, because like in South Africa and seemingly elsewhere in the world, the judges and the courts are completely overcapacitated, and they do need some additional financing to be able to execute their duties.
Let's move on then to the... Was it a big announcement, or is it a bit of a damn squib now? Lerato, don't choke just yet. So the U.S. President Donald Trump finally confirming what everybody knew. He's not coming to the G20 summit in November. What we didn't know is who would be taking his place, but now we do. The Vice President.
Yes, Cathy?
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Yes, sorry, I thought I lost you. Yes, finally, the firm announcement that you've been waiting for, the Americans are coming. President Donald Trump is electing to send Vice President J.D. Vance in his place this coming November. And I am of the understanding that the American Sherpas have been interacting with other Sherpas during this meeting. I mean, we are less than 8 weeks away from our closure and handover, but he will be here. JD Vance has had some rather interesting, I think, international events thrown at him, and his presentation of self and his administration has been interesting. I recall an instance at the World Economic Forum earlier on this year where during a presser, or I believe it was World Economic Forum and not the Munich Security Council meeting, he's sort of having a press briefing with a glass of bourbon. And he's live on television and he's being interviewed and he's having liquor whilst talking to the global community. So, I mean, we need to really sort of keep our nerves intact because we just don't know what's going to come on any particular day towards us. I'm also wondering just what is the bed space for the Doral Resort in South Florida, given the fact that on average on any meeting you've got about 300 to 400 people. So capacitating space is another query that I have, let alone the structure and content of the agenda.
So I guess the DIRCO protocol team is going to have to be very careful about what it's serving as refreshments on the day. It might not meet the spec.
Yeah, I mean, really, I get my hats off to them. It's going to be a very interesting few days at the Heads of State Summit in November.
And I guess it's just this sense that everybody there's an established order, right? And what the Donald Trump presidency has done is that it's created that big element of surprise, that at any given point, anything can happen and you might not know what's coming next. But you still have to try and maintain the order for the purposes of decorum and all other diplomatic issues that others are concerned with, that some leaders in the US might not be so concerned with. Let's talk about the third tourism working group and the ministerial meeting that's taking place this week.
Yeah, it's the end of the road for the tourism engagement group. Interestingly enough, just now, Minister Dalil just launched the Tourism Investment Summit, which is now coinciding, obviously, with these last two meetings. She's launching this initiative, Cathy, that I thought was a very well-timed and good coupling as we launching Tourism Month in South Africa, or the Short Left campaign. The inaugural tourism summit, she's saying that it's a G20 legacy project. There are 8 flagship bankable projects and a total combined value of 1 billion rand. So she's looking for investors for God's Window Skywalk in Mpumalanga. She's looking for the Hole in the Wall Resort in the Eastern Cape. And those 2 projects, she's looking for 200 million and 141 million rands respectively. And there are others, obviously, throughout the country. So she's talking about, unveiling a pipeline, a national pipeline of projects that she wants people to invest in. I thought this was very, very clever of her to do this at this moment in time. And what a nice way to go out, really meeting and coupling and being consistent with meeting your theme of tourism investment for jobs, growth and transformation. At the center of really this meeting, throughout of all of it, has been, to center people's livelihoods, preservation, doing business in tourism, and just keeping those 3 anchor points alive throughout the meeting. And I think they've done a very good job of maintaining this. And she's, Minister Dalil has been very grateful, she says in her speech, to UN Tourism for helping South Africa specifically craft what they're calling tourism doing business investing in South Africa's guidelines. So apparently we've got a new set of guidelines for tourism and doing business in South Africa whilst you're a tourist here.
All right, and I guess the minister will also be hoping that none of the issues around the Tourism South Africa board and its drama make headlines this week while she's hosting her counterparts. I like your little chuckles, Lerato.
So. Let's hope for her sake. I mean, they've done this is very clever branding and very clever a coupling exercise. So I hope that everything does go well for her for the next 2 days for a bit.
What's next on the agenda, Lerato?
So we've got one last big meeting for the 4th International Financial Architecture Working Group. That's the 15th and 16th of September in Fancourt. And from Friday onwards, from the 12th to the 14th of September, you've got the Urban 20. It is now Johannesburg's turn to host the U20 Mayoral Summit. I wish them all the very best of luck. The Tshwane one went extremely well. It was extremely well organized and very efficient. So let's wish Johannesburg all the best as they prepare to host a very big contingent of mayors for this coming weekend.
Do we know yet when they're expecting to be done with all of the construction that's related to the G20? I was driving at night the other day and I noticed that there's quite a lot of roadworks happening on main highways at night. And obviously it's in routes between OR Tambo and going into the other arterial roads, M1 leading into Sandton. So, obviously, visitors are coming, so we don't want them to find broken gates. But what are the deadlines that they might have given themselves, because we're now 2 months away?
Cathy, I mean, let's be glad, I think at the very, very, very beginning of this meeting, of our hosting, I recall there was an article in the Daily Maverick, or one of the reporters had tweeted that, the grass along in Kyalami was just so long. And that there were potholes, etc., etc. And I think the Metro got a hold and saw this tweet, and very quickly, this was literally the afternoon before the morning of our kicking off the summit. And in the morning, it looked very well manicured and very well tailored and very well taken care of. So personally, I'm just great to see that this is not happening the night before our closure, and in anticipation of a very large delegation of heads of state, along with a very large contingent of their security agency and their ministerial teams. So I'm hoping that what you are seeing is going to be very continuous, and also not just a sporadic cleanup for the sake of the fact that we're having a big international meeting. But this is very much an issue, Cathy, about being consistent in the delivery of basic services and making sure that the city looks palatable and approachable and clean.
Yeah, look, you're a lot more optimistic than I am, Lerato. I've made peace with the fact that, look, it's for the summit. Let's call it what it is. Whatever paint jobs need to be done between now and then, we'll get stuck in the traffic at night for the sake of it to continue, as long as we don't get embarrassed on an international stage. But South Africa always does so well hosting big events. In fact, I think
agree with that.
Yeah, we really leave no stones unturned in that regard. Lerato, let's leave it there for today.
Thank you so much, Cathy.
That's Lerato Tsebe with your G20 series. Okay, we've come to the end of the show. Yeah, tomorrow on the open line, you can share some of the experiences that you've had with, the upgrades, just the facelift that you've noticed that are happening in the city. The reason I say this is because I was stuck on the highway at night. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and there were all of these trucks that were out on the highway, yellow plants, busy, very, very hard at work. I'm like, guys, it's 11 o'clock at night. What is going on? And then I remembered, we're en route to the airport and it's G20 time. I know somebody's probably going to give me a scolding and say, this is what we do every day. All right, let me go off air before I'm taken off. The talking point back with you again tomorrow between 9 and midday.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme, Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates, SAFM is where heritage meets innovation, connecting generations and keeping our culture alive in a changing world. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SFM presents another episode of the book Boardroom Dancing by Nolita Fakude, read by Vuyokazi Tere.
With some stories, it's a question of timing. While others will forever be buried in my heart and mind and will never see the light of day. During this journey and time of reflection, I've laid a lot of ghosts to rest, but also woken up a few sleeping dogs. From when I was a child, I've always believed that I've led a charmed life regardless of what challenges I have faced. Writing this book has confirmed this further for me. As a result, I'm also crystal clear about my purpose in life. I am convinced that kindness in itself is the religion I subscribe to and of which I am an apologetic disciple. My entire life has been filled with generosity and abundance, more than it has been touched by sadness or bitterness, thanks to the many known and unknown people who have been my guardian angels. If I had not written this memoir, I might not have had this deep insight, and so I'm grateful to have had this gap here. Looking at my corporate career so far, and I include my 8-year-old self here, a snapshot takeaway summary might look something like this. Ncika Store, my grandmother's and later my mother's general dealer shop. Kwanodumo, as the villagers called it, was where my business and leadership skills were nurtured. The seeds and roots of social solidarity and empathy were planted in Kwanodumo Cash Store, my anchor. Woolworths set a firm and solid business foundation, the University of Retail. Nedbank became my business school testing ground. Sasol became my global stage. Mozambique, Uzbekistan, Qatar, China, and the United States, where we had our secondary listing on the NYSE, were among the many countries in which we operated. The BMF was my life's true north. My life and my career were enriched by the BMF, for which I will always be grateful. All of the above organizations have strong, recognizable brands, good value systems, and a culture of high performance, and are even seen or perceived to be good corporate citizens within the South African business landscape. The association for me personally has been deliberate and important. A company reputation is as important as my own reputation. Throughout the years, especially during my 11 years at Sasol, I believe that I've always had the best teams for my functions. These women and men, young and old, made me proud to be part of their teams. Extremely competent, competitive, and great fun to be with. I spent hours with my teams, often in awe of what each person brought to the table in terms of thought leadership and quality of work. For my part, I was always working hard not to let them down, and together we glided through many boardrooms as we strived to deliver our mandate. In the pages that follow, as I recount my progression through my business life, a strong thread will be discerned, a thread that is held and sustained by women. Throughout my life, women have particularly embraced me in so many ways. Women I know and women I don't know. Nindenze umntu ngokwenene, umntu ngumntu ngabantu. The women of the BMF and its sister organizations became the rock that I could stand on. They built a wall of goodwill and love around me and helped to anchor me against storms so big that on my own, I would have been buried alive many times over. I stood with them in spirit, whatever platform I was on. Ndiyabulela. As women in South Africa, we benefited immensely from Thabo Mbeki's feminist approach during his presidency. Within corporates, his policies and personal commitment to gender equity gave us the boost we required. My ascension to the BMF presidency had a lot to do with the tailwinds and sentiments he held regarding the pace or lack of transformation in corporate South Africa, specifically with regard to Black people and generally when it came to women. This is how Bheki Sibiya could confidently step up and throw down the gauntlet to the BMF membership as a whole. I remember him saying to me, Manjoli, the gender agenda is an idea whose time has come. The BMF must not be ambivalent about it. It has to be said that after President Bheki, there was no political will from business to drive transformation. The call for radical economic transformation from the political leadership soon paralyzed even those who wanted to do something when it became clear that in many instances, RET was becoming synonymous with corruption. The transformation agenda was being hijacked right in front of our eyes, and the voice of Black professionals muzzled by the fear of being called clever Blacks. For a private sector that in the first instance had no real appetite for the transformation agenda, this was a convenient hiatus. People would just throw up their hands and roll their eyes. The message and tone from the top was too confusing and ambivalent, especially on the issue of gender equity. My hope in writing this memoir at this particular juncture in my own life and in the life of our nation is that it will invoke in you, the reader, the urge to want to have a much more open and deeper discussion about what our shared future should look like and what the common values of South Africa should be, and how best to move forward as a country towards defining a peaceful coexistence among all South Africans of all races by leveraging the economic transformation framework that exists in South Africa. If I am able, in some small way, to play a part in encouraging and guiding that discussion, my gap here will have been fruitful indeed. Prologue. I stood transfixed on the spot. I focused on the picture hanging in the office of Busi Mavuso, managing director of the Black Management Forum, and took a deep breath. Then, channeling my grandmother, Mangang Nkomo, I calmly returned to the boardroom. Apologies, gentlemen, I said. Where were we? Another chapter had just begun. Half an hour earlier, I had been forced to open the BMF meeting of its Council of Elders by apologizing upfront for the fact that I had to keep my phone on. I was expecting a call that could not be put off. When my phone rang, I escaped to Busi's office to take it in privacy. Good afternoon, Miss Fakude. It's John here. Thanks for taking my call. Did you travel well back to South Africa? Said Sir John Parker, the chairman of the Anglo-American PLC board. Yes, thanks, Sir John. I did. All is well, I replied, feeling anxious. The nominations committee members really enjoyed meeting you last week, Sir John Parker continued, referring to our meeting the week before in London. We are hoping that you will honor us by accepting our invitation to join the Anglo-American PLC board. I took a deep breath and responded as elegantly as I could. Thank you, Sir John. It will be my honor to accept. As if I would have declined a board seat on one of the London Stock Exchange, LSE, FTSE 100, and the JSE Top 40 listed companies. He thanked me and filled me in on the details, which I heard through a surreal fog. I wanted to congratulate you personally. Goodbye, Nolita, he said, signing off. It was February 2017, 2 months into my gap year, for which I had set myself 3 goals. One was to try to write this memoir. Second, I needed to center and energize myself by reconnecting with the people I had not had enough time to see for some years due to my hectic work schedule. And third, I wanted to serve as a non-executive director with a portfolio of at least 3 boards so as to keep my brain stimulated. Included in my board wish list was the desire to be on an internationally listed entity. Although the plan had been to start looking later in the year within new sectors, opportunities like the Anglo-American PLC had already started knocking. Sometimes you simply must seize the moment.
There was another episode of the book Boardroom Dancing by Nolita Fakude, read by Vuyokazi Tebe. The book is available online and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursdays on The Talking Point. The book is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Vuyokazi Tebe. Technical production, Wiseman Manglele, Nanda Koza, and Tato Mapuru.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
As always, when we chat tennis, great to have Bruce Davidson back on the show. 2 tremendous women's semi-finals. We've got to say, but a name on everybody's lips at the moment has to be Amanda Anisimova.
She's just a great player. I was just watching that match against Osaka, and I had to watch a couple of more points on rewind. I just noticed that she moves so well. She's got great ground strokes, and she hits them very, very strongly. She's got a fantastic serve, but I think the strongest part of her game is her return of serve, and you and I know how important that is in any game because the serve is obviously the dominant part, and if you can return that serve as well as Agassi and Djokovic, to the likes, then you've got a chance of breaking serve and winning matches, and she's just got that. But what I like about her is the way she regroups. She lost 6-love to Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon.
Top Sport on SAFM.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
O'clock on Wednesday, the 10th of September 2025. A very warm welcome to Updated Noon here on SAFM. Leading the conversation, I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up on the show today.
It hasn't been good. My auntie's business has been on a slow because of the water. We haven't been bathing. Everything is not going as planned. People are not going, our children is not going to school, work. The solar geysers that we're supposed to have current water in, the solar geysers don't have water because why? There's no running water from the taps.
Police clash with Westbury residents as the residents protest over water challenges in the area yet again, and
we need to give the court, in this case, a life of its own. The potential outcome could resonate far beyond Israel and Palestine. In other words, inactions insofar as the conflict is concerned has direct impact on how international law and humanitarian law is applied across the globe in all conflicts that affect humanity.
Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, has updated Parliament on South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Coming up in sport.
One of those days where the stars align. We've got Bafana, Springbok women, Springboks, the Proteas, and international athletics.
Well, look at you. Can't wait. John Gericke, second half of the show with all of those details. In the meantime, let us know what's on your mind. You can share your views with us via SMS on 41391. You'll be charged R150 per SMS. Can also get in touch via X at SABC News_radio or send us a WhatsApp voice note on 082-692-3909. Well, these and more stories coming up on this Hump Day edition of Update at Noon. First, though, here's the latest news with Ondelambana.
Thank you, Sakin. On the top stories, the killing of 6 people in Kraaifontein condemned and a nationwide curfew enforced in Nepal. For SFM News, I am Ondelambana and a very good day. The Kraaifontein Community Policing Forum in Cape Town has condemned the killing of 6 people across the area. Police are probing 3 double murders, including that of 4 women in separate incidents. CPF chairperson Gavin Riddles says the killings are becoming a norm. He says urgent solutions are needed.
Communities are being extinguished and destroyed because of these killings, and even it have a negative effect on the learners that in the mornings must go to schools and come back from that. And also to take note that one of these people that passed on was a learner at a local school. Saddened it more, and this is totally something I can't even express myself how I feel.
The Constitutional Court will tomorrow deliver judgment on whether Section 26(1)(a) to C of the Births and Deaths Registration Act is unconstitutional insofar as it unfairly discriminates on the basis of gender by failing to afford men the right to assume the surname of women after marriage. This after the applicants Jana Jordan and Henry van der Merwe, as well as Jess Donnelly and Bornman and Andreas Nicholas Bornman, turned to the Apex Court in March this year for a confirmation of invalidity against the said section. Kenny Mapanga reports.
Van der Merwe was denied the ability to take on the surname of his wife, Jordan, and Mr. Bornman was denied the ability to hyphenate his surname to include his wife's surname, Donnelly. The applicants successfully challenged the said section in the Free State Division of the High Court, however, still need the constitutional invalidity to be confirmed by the Apex Court in order for it to take effect. Judgment will be delivered at 9 a.m. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Northwest Police say the 2 suspects arrested in connection with the killing of a Limpopo ANC Youth League PEC member are guards working for a private security company. Ngateko Maluleke was shot and killed outside Klerksdorp in the Northwest yesterday. Maluleke was with 6 others travelling to Kimberley in the Northern Cape for the League's meeting to prepare for the National General Council when their car was shot at. Northwest Police spokesperson Sebata Mukhabone says the suspects' firearms have been confiscated.
The police came across one of the vehicles that fitted the description of one of the vehicles allegedly involved in the shooting. Police interviewed the duo, that is the driver and the passenger, and they indicated that they were members of a private security company contracted by Transnet, and that before being involved in an accident, they and their colleagues were chasing a vehicle that was involved in theft of Transnet cables. The 2 were immediately placed under arrest and the police confiscated the firearms, that is a rifle and a pistol.
The Western Cape Education Department has encouraged learners to seek help if they're experiencing mental health struggles. This as well, Suicide Prevention Day is being observed today. Provincial Education Minister David Mainer says the emotional and psychological pressure on children are immense.
We need to act quickly when we see signs that a learner is in distress and at risk of suicidal behavior. If you are a learner who is struggling, or a parent or teacher who is concerned about one of our learners, you are not alone. Help is available. You can speak to a teacher or contact the toll-free Safe Schools call centre on 0800 454647 for assistance in locating support.
The army in Nepal says a nationwide curfew will be enforced until tomorrow morning to restore law and order after violent anti-corruption protests that prompted the government to quit. It has accused anarchist groups of infiltrating the protests. The BBC Charlotte Scar has the details.
It's quiet across Kathmandu this morning. The curfew's been extended and there is a military presence on the streets. On a main road that would usually be packed with rush hour traffic, all that can be seen is a military checkpoint. Only emergency vehicles are being allowed to pass. Despite a controversial ban on social media being lifted by the government earlier this week, a wider protest movement against political corruption intensified. Violence led to the destruction of the Parliament building, the central government complex and the Supreme Court. As Nepal wakes up with no clear idea who is in power, many now wait for the outcome of a planned meeting this morning between the army and the Gen Z protest leaders.
Recapping the top story, the Kraaifontein Community Policing Forum in Cape Town has condemned the killing of 6 people across the area. I'm on Delambana for SFM News Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Thanks, Ondela. Good afternoon, everyone. 7 minutes after 12 here on Update at Noon. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now, some of the stories that we'll be updating you on, and quite a few, quite busy this afternoon. So, Westbury remains tense as residents protest over water. And looking at some visuals right now of protesting residents around the Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital. And this is where they are seeing some police as well stationed there. And the residents, we understand, are protesting once again over the water interruptions, water shortages in this area, because they say that for the past 8 years, the water tends to come on at around midnight or after midnight and then stays on until around 4 a.m. And beyond that, they don't have water. We've heard these cries for years now. We've reported on it. And they are saying that they feel as though they are being neglected. They're being taken for granted by the city of Johannesburg, and they will not move until the mayor comes to address them, seeing that they were promised that things would change 2 weeks ago. So they have taken to the streets once again. So if you in and around that area, please avoid it. Do not try to drive around there, and the roads are barricaded. So if that's a route that you usually use going past Westbury, Coronationville, we understand up as far as Claremont as well, please try and avoid that area. And then we'll also bring you up to speed with what's happening with the global Samud flotilla that's supposed to be headed to Gaza with the aim of breaking the siege on humanitarian aid in that region. And we also have a few other stories. Minister Ronald Damula updating Parliament about South Africa's case against Israel at the ICJ. We'll play some of what was said there for you. There was a presser by the South African Music Rights Organization inviting members to listen to some of the explanations they had to give of some of the news coming out of there. And so many other stories in the courts as well. Chinese nationals who appeared in court on human trafficking charges, among others, sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. So all of these stories we'll try and bring you further updates on.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Get ready, South Africa! 8,000 athletes from every corner of the country will hit the ground running in the second edition of the Hollywood Beds Joburg 10 kilometer. A thrilling road race starting and finishing at the Wanderers Club. It's more than a race. It's all about community, good vibes, and rising to the challenge. Catch the action live on Saturday, 13 September at 6:30 a.m. on SABC2, SABC Plus, and reports across SABC radio stations. # Let's Run. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Oh, hello. Let's do a little word association. I'll say some phrases, you see how they make you feel. retirement, credit card balance, another interest rate hike. Still calm? Well then, you've got the F Factor. It's that special something that comes from having a clear financial plan to manage and protect your finances. If you broke into a sweat, you probably don't have it yet. Visit livewithconfidence.co.za to up your F Factor. Sanlam. Live with confidence. T's and C's apply. Sanlam Life is a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Now, tensions continue to soar in Westbury as disgruntled residents take to the streets over water challenges, and dozens have taken to burning tyres and barricading roads with stones and bricks. And residents maintain that this is a peaceful protest that is meant to raise awareness over their challenges. And we have our reporter Horisani Sitole, who's on the scene, and he's caught up with some of the residents who explained their frustrations.
My name is Jaden. The police are fast to come shoot us for water. They fast to come shoot us for water. We don't have water for over 3 weeks here. But when our brothers are laying dead in the street, they know where to be found. Yeah, they're shooting us. It's peaceful. They're shooting us for nothing. What's happening, guys? We need our community to stand together. This is not right. Tear gas, we're standing peacefully with no weapons, no bricks. They're throwing tear gas here right now. It's not okay. It's not okay. They are, because they are shooting at us first. We put our bricks down at a point and then they started shooting at us because they found the opportunity that the bricks are down. Now, what can we do? They are so fast to come with for water that we're fighting for 3 weeks. But if our brothers get shot, he lays for over 5 hours in the street. For over 5 hours in the street, but they shoot us for water, but they can't go to the proper gangsters. This is not right what we're going through here. Coronationville and Westbury.
Jaden,
resident of Coronationville.
Jaden, just tell us about your situation. How has it been in the past 3 weeks?
It hasn't been good. It hasn't been good. My auntie's business has been on a slow because of the water. We haven't been bathing. Everything is not going as planned. People are not going, our children is not going to school, work. The solar geysers that we're supposed to have current water in, the solar geysers don't have water because why? There's no running water from the taps. So we need water. It's hard for us. It's hard. It's very hard for us. Our community, we're trying to stand together peacefully, and they're doing this. Police at this moment, our current police 2025, they are nothing but cowards. Straight. Nothing but cowards.
Oh, I'm angry. I am angry. I can stand. I can cry. Why are they doing this to us? If they can expose, go to the police station. We will do this within peace. What did they do towards us? We stood there within peace. They came to shoot bullets at us.
And we saw the police also pointing a gun at you, and you stood firm.
To take that woman's name. I want to take her name. I want to go and take her name. I will not leave it like this. Go and ask her what is her name. I'm going to report her. No count in South Africa can a police do that. What did I do to her? I stood peaceful. So get her name. I want to take her down to the ground. Me. I'm going to do it. One woman alone. I'm going to do it. I'm angry. Huh? Why are they doing this to us? Huh?
And how old are you, and how's the situation?
I'm 73, my friend. I'm 73. Look there. Those people are doing nothing. Can you see? Can you see? They're doing nothing. It is wrong. Get that woman's name. I'm going to report her. I need the name from you. Please.
They managed to go in, but they just transported him now to Helen Joseph Hospital because this is for mother and child. So they don't actually assist with those cases. So they transfer him to Helen Joseph. Yes, he is getting medical, but we had to make a performance first at the gate so they could assist him and transport him to Helen Joseph Hospital. I mean, which is wrong. Why must we fight for our rights to get assisted? It's very wrong and it's painful, man, because we've lost. How much family members are we losing through gangsterism? It was real ammunition. The guy was literally bleeding, and the cops just stood here and they were busy laughing at him being carried across the road to go to the hospital. But not even one of them could assist or go inside the community to go and check what is happening inside. They heard the first 4 bullets that went down. We all stood here and they heard the bullets, but they stood. And then when they carried the boy out, they are laughing. So what are we? We're not human beings. Why should we be treated like animals? We are sick and tired, man. Genoeg is genoeg. We are fed up, man.
And those were voices of some of the residents from Westbury and Coronationville. For the latest, we join on the line now by our reporter, Horisani Sitole. Horisani, good afternoon. So what is the situation like right now?
Sakina, good afternoon. You heard that the community saying that they are tired. Right now, we can hear in the background an ambulance is coming. They are making way. Residents are making way for it. Actually, a couple of patient transport. You remember, Sakina, that this is a very busy route which people use between Johannesburg or
All right, Horisani, apologies there. Too much noise in the background. If I can just maybe ask you to just position yourself such that we're not catching too much of the wind in your microphone as well. And perhaps, you could just pick up from where you were telling us about this being a busy arterial route for people to go to hospital and so on. Horisani?
Sakina, I would like to believe I'm audible enough right now. I was saying it's a very busy route that's linking Soweto and parts of this side of Johannesburg. Talking about here, where we are actually is in front of Rahima Musa. But Sakina, since the morning, the people have been allowing those who are sick or those who came for their medical checkup to come in until then the shooting incident happened, which we've seen lots of rubber bullets being fired. We've seen lots of rubber bullets being fired, and then now the police are quiet down. The situation is calm, but it still remains tense.
Now, Horisani, in terms of people who've been injured, do you have an update for us on that?
Yes, we've seen one boy who was allegedly shot by a gun, but not by the police, but inside the community behind where we are. We've seen him being rushed to hospital here at Rahima Musa, but they managed to transfer him to Helen Joseph, where we believe is being getting medical attention on that other end. But at this stage, speaking to the people, they maintain that they would like to see this thing stopping because they are alleging that there's so much of corruption going on. They believe that there are people who are fiddling with infrastructure so that so-called water tanker mafias can come into the area and go ahead and build government in the social system.
All right, Horisani, as much as I would love to take this further, I think audio issues are preventing this. But just a quick one with regard to the demands that are being made. I saw earlier some of the residents on TV saying that they actually want the mayor to come and they will not disperse until he does. Have you heard that? And are they persisting with that?
Those calls are still being made, Sakina. But we try to get a view from the Ward Councillor here as to what is it that she's doing to try to get the mayor to come here. But unfortunately, she gave us some resistance. She said, we don't want to speak to the SABC at that time. I don't know what's wrong with her, but that's what we got. But the people still maintain that they want Mayor Tadamorero to come here and give them a lasting solution to this problem because it's been going on and they are fed up at this stage.
Right, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much, Horisani Sitole, who's our reporter who's out in Coronationville. And this is, of course, on that border between Coronationville and Westbury. This is where the protest action is taking place. And just another reminder, if you have to travel in and around that area, I'd suggest you please put it off or, try and postpone it for another day because today it is really tense around that area. Incidentally, just missed it, but I see our reporter Mbalenhle Mtetwa actually just asked the question of the City of Johannesburg mayor, and he says that he is waiting for a report on the situation. So I'm not sure what that means and who the report is supposed to come from, but that is the latest with regard to this situation.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Kinelo Matibela, best known as Maestro. I am an SABC Sport football analyst. I've never never been to a picnic before. Oh my goodness. People sometimes struggle to pronounce my name, so everyone is just saying Maestro, so it has stuck with me. A good joke I heard. When somebody said to someone, "You look so dark, you literally look like under the bed." My favorite dress code, I don't like being formal. Oh, I'm not a fan of meat. My favorite meal is definitely putu and milk. My current favorite song, A Million Little Miracles. Can even count them all. To South Africa and the continent, tune into SABC Sport.
Catch the incredible football analysis on Match Days with Ginelwe Maestro Matibela. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Now, South African civilian aid flotilla assisting in the alleged breach of the Israeli naval blockade of Gaza to deliver humanitarian aid have now been met with some challenges on their mission, along with other members from other countries. And this as the boats have been attacked by drones. And now, the initiative, known as the Global Sumud Flotilla, involves more than 50 boats from at least 44 countries and forms part of a broader non-violent movement aimed at drawing international attention to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And for an update, we join on the line now by Nkosi Amanda Mandela. Thanks so much for your time, Nkosi, and welcome to Update at Noon.
Good afternoon, Sakina. It's great to be in your show.
So what is the situation like in Tunisia at the moment? Because we understand that the flotilla was meant to move out of Tunis later this week. So please just explain to us what's been happening so far and what the situation is.
Well, so far we've had a warm welcome from the Tunisian people who have received us in open arms. And it has really been in a true African spirit of unity. As you know, coming from the southern tip of Africa right to the northern tip of Africa, this is the solidarity we continuously want to see. But having been here, we awaited our boats that were sailing out of Barcelona, which departed on the 31st of August, coming to Tunisia, which I think out of the 21 that sailed, 4 had to go back, 17 journeyed further. One of the boats that had gone back made it back into Tunis. So we, I think, had about 18, 19 boats arriving in Tunis when Tiago, Greta, and the rest of the team arrived. We have mobilized about 26 boats out of Tunis, which will be heading out with the rest of the Barcelona boats to join the boats that will be in Greece as well as in Sicily, in Italy. But our stay here in Tunis has been exceptionally well received, and we have enjoyed our time being here. But as you know, we have had 2 attacks by drone strike on 2 of our boats, one being the family boat that had come out of Barcelona to Tunisia. Yesterday, we also had another attack on one of the boats. But the Tunisians, in their true culture, came out in their numbers onto the port and started firing fireworks, defending the Global Sumud Flotilla, showing the spirit of unity. And we must say, as the participants, we are proud to see our Tunisian brothers and sisters rising to the occasion. We thank the Tunisian people and the government for having hosted us in their beautiful country.
And Nkosi Mandela, at first, after the reports of the first alleged drone attack, the Tunisian government came out and said there was no such. And now there's reports of a second one. So is there footage? Is there evidence that these were, in fact, drone attacks, one? And if so, by whom?
We know exactly who is a threat to the Palestinians and who is a threat to you and I, and who is a threat to global peace. With that said, I think many of the footage that we have put out into the public, including on my own social media, you will see that there was indeed a strike on the ships. In the first one, the family boat, we had some of our participants and crew members on the boat when the drone came over their heads. It came from the southern side or the back of the ship and stood momentarily above their heads and then went to the front of the boat where it dropped the bomb that lit fire onto the life-saving jackets, which were damaged. But with that said, we are not here to make this a story about us or the Tunisians. The real issue here is the plight of the Palestinian people, and this is what the focus should be on. We cannot be shifting the focus on the many children that are being starved to death, the mothers that are watching their children perishing before their hands, and many of our brothers that have been shot and killed while searching for food out in the streets of Gaza. So we want to plead with the media in particular in the global community to focus on this genocide and the extermination of the Palestinian people. We need to utilize every voice on the ground, highlighting the plight of the Palestinian struggle.
And just a final question, Nkosi Mandela, as you are now getting ready to set sail towards Gaza, with that comes inherent danger, and I'm sure you are aware of this. With regard to the plan, what are you going to do once you enter Gaza waters?
Well, for us, the mission is simple. We are checking out of our hotels as we speak. We will be at the port this afternoon, 1 o'clock, boarding our boats. And we will set sail at 4 o'clock. Many of our Tunisian brothers and sisters are coming out in their numbers to bid farewell to the global Sumud flotilla. Once we set sail, as I said, we will be joined by the boats in Greece, including the boats in Italy. Our mission is simple. We are peace-loving humanitarians that are carrying humanitarian aid that is much needed by the Palestinians in Gaza. Our priority here is to break the blockade and end the siege that has been ongoing for the past 18 years. We understand the challenges that lie ahead, but the Palestinians, if there's anything that we have learned from them over the past 77 years of this genocide and catastrophe, has been that we must remain resilient and steadfast. And we will ensure that we request from all our participants to remain non-violent, peaceful, and ensure that we are a true reflection of what we have seen Palestinians being on the ground. So ours is simply to deliver that humanitarian aid to the Palestinians.
Well, we thank you, Nkosi Mandla Mandela. Will you be live streaming?
I certainly will when we are getting turns in terms of the accessibility to Wi-Fi on the boat. So when I do get allocated that 5-10 minutes on the boat, I will be streaming.
Thank you so much. And of course, we'll try and get those details to you so that you can, in fact, follow those live streams of the Global Tsumud Flotilla. And that was, of course, Ngosi Zwelivelile Mandla Mandela, who is part of the team from South Africa. And whilst this is happening in Parliament, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, has called for South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice to be given a life of its own, as it may have a bearing on the application of international law across the globe.
Honorable members, as we gather here right now, the Palestinian is being wiped off the map. In this presentation, you will hear that we have produced evidence of genocidal statement from prominent members of the Israel government. One such statement being, and I quote, "Erase the memory of them, erase them, their families, mothers and children. These animals can no longer live," close quote. Honorable members, international law and the global system of governance that has been developed after the Second World War is under severe attack. It is important for the global majority who believe in a rules-based system anchored on international law and in the UN Charter to stand up and protect the sanctity of the rule of law. Should we stand back and remain silent when innocent civilians are killed or starved right before our eyes? A different question will be, when does impunity end? Who should ensure that there is no exceptionalism? All of us are equal before the law. Should we accept a world where it is acceptable for over 60,000 people that are being indiscriminately killed in our eyes, and in real time we can see it on various platforms, including social media? With the advent of technology, it is vividly clear in everyone across the globe. As the South African government was chosen to act in accordance with our constitutional values and our international law obligations, we have chosen to be on the side of the global majority that has rejected these horrific actions. Our case was rejected in some quarters as populist, blood-libel, meritless and baseless. Today, as we meet here, there is a growing body of consensus on whether what all we are witnessing is indeed consistent with the statements of the Israel leaders. This denial of the genocide and the atrocities by Israel and the tacit condemnation of these acts have led to the questioning: do some believe that Palestinians' lives matter less than others? By extension, it begs the question whether the ideologies of superiority that justify colonial conquest, occupations and genocide in Africa and other parts of the world still determine which people are deserving of protection by international human rights law and international legal framework.
And that was the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, briefing the Portfolio Committee on South Africa's case against Israel at the ICJ. Time now for your news headlines. Ondela, as usual, if it gets busy, we apologize. Let's hear those headlines.
Thank you, Sakina. The news headline: 7 Chinese nationals found guilty on charges related to kidnapping and forced labor have been sentenced to 20 years in prison and the High Court in Johannesburg. The Kraaifontein Community Policing Forum in Cape Town has condemned the killing of 6 people across the area. Police are probing 3 double murders, including that of 4 women in separate incidents. And the International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola has urged all global stakeholders who uphold international law and the UN Charter to unite in defense of the rule of law. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg. SAFM Sport with John Gericka.
Hello to you as well on this busy hump day.
It is. Let's go through all the national sides. Starting with Bafana. On course to qualify for the FIFA World Cup. Firmly on top of Group C, 17 points and a healthy 8-goal difference. Bafana just 2 games from directly qualifying for the tournament. Chasing them are Benin on 14 points after their 4-0 win over Lesotho. Nigeria and Rwanda further back on 11. For Bafana, 1 more win from their last 2 fixtures would likely be enough to clinch top spot and automatic qualification. Battle for second, though, still heating up. Benin are best placed to grab the playoff berth. Nigeria and Rwanda must win and hope results go their way. For now, South Africa control their destiny. The group remains wide open just behind them. On another note, though, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce is asking South African players to explore the world. He feels that players can only improve when they're allowed to spread their wings in international leagues.
He has to go out, and maybe the PSL teams will not be happy to hear that. But it has. Look at a guy like Bokazi. This guy has to go to Europe. He's 19 years old. You see the way he's playing is like he has already 10 years experience on this level. It's his third game with the national team. Third game. You see how he playing. So again, let's hope that some players can do the step next year. It will be good for South African football, believe me.
Well, so far in Asia, Japan, Iran, South Korea, Jordan, Uzbekistan and Australia have all safely through to the World Cup. New Zealand have clinched Oceania's spot. They brushed aside New Caledonia. In South America, big guns are in. Argentina, Brazil and Ecuador have sealed their places. Others still jostling for the remaining berths. Let's go to women's rugby now. The women's forward Sizopila Solonsi is sounding confident ahead of their World Cup quarter-final against New Zealand on Saturday. The flanker says they know the calibre of their opponents, but it's just a game of rugby.
We can't hide away from the fact that they ranked number 3. I think they ranked number 3 in the world, and there's always going to be pressure. But it's a knockout game, so the pressure, regardless of playing Ireland or playing Spain, it is a knockout round, which adds that pressure. So it's not about the team that we're playing against. It's more about the knockout stages, but then that shouldn't really affect us much because we've worked for this. We've played against teams. We played against Canada, which was also number 2.
Men's Springbok assistant coach Dwayne Vermeulen has rubbished claims the Boks were weak at the breakdown against New Zealand last weekend. The attacking breakdown's been a thorn in the Boks side this season, both Italy and Australia exploiting it to great effect before South Africa travelled to New Zealand.
It's two poachers and maybe just one counter-ruck. So I think if you look at a test match rugby, which goes 80 minutes, I don't really think it's a massive talking point. Obviously, we try to put pressure on our position as well. So yes, they've done a couple of things, but it's not exposing us in a way. The focus will always be there when you play a game, and but our overall game is probably the biggest talking point. We can't go specifics.
Let's go to cricket now. After the Proteas ODI series win against England, not counting that disaster along the way, the sides resume battle in a 3-match T20 series starting today. Here's Aiden Markram.
Yeah, always a good team, always. Never going to play against England and it's going to be an easy game, so expect